Blog Talk Radio.
First of all, if a woman is over 35 years old and she ain't married, then she must be nutty as squirrel.
But everything else was so right. And by everything else, I mean her looks. She was fine.
She couldn't look that good. She was black. But I guess if you put lipstick and a wig on a monkey, it could look good, too. A monkey and lipstick and a wig.
I found him. He's in a park with another man.
Oh, see? What did I tell you? See, that's exactly why I don't have a man. Because all these niggas is gay.
No, they're just playing checkers.
Oh, what, girl? How his friend look?
Black women just crazy. It's all that stuff they do to their hair. Straighteners and relaxers and activators and tight braids. Still look like I ate with a pretty head of hair.
I don't think his friend likes the sisters too much.
Isn't that a surprise? That's exactly why I don't have a man now.
Well, I was really hoping it would work out with this one.
Me too, baby.
Oh, well, at least I got that crazy bitch out of my house.
What happened, girl? What did he say?
He told his friend I'm crazy. He said Luna was crazy.
You know what you should do? Kidnap and torture his ass. How about that? He going around calling people crazy, or we gonna show that nigga just who's crazy?
Context of white supremacy, Gus T Renegade, Justice, in for another episode to share constructive information about what racism, white supremacy is, and how it works. I was going to say, hopefully this will be the last installment on the Boondocks. I don't know how I feel about that. I enjoy the show, but I do think in a system of racism, white supremacy, I just would rather be focusing on white people. I think if more non-white people, including Gus, put my name first on the list, if more of us were focusing our time, energy, thoughts on white people, what to do about white people, counter-violence, as we touched on at the end of the program earlier in the day, I think that would be more constructive than, breaking down the Boondocks. But as I said, the counter-violence programming, that is coming, and the Boondocks is ending, so that won't be on the table anymore. This program, I did know, I don't want to say no, but I strongly suspect, actually, yes, I did. I knew there was going to be another opportunity for a broadcast on the Boondocks. I know that a lot of people listen to those programs, as I said before. It's surprising to me how popular the programs that I have done on the Boondocks to not have a guest, basically to just have Gus rambling about Aaron McGruder and a cartoon, and, a lot of people tune into those broadcasts. So if I can use this as a means to talk about racism, white supremacy, and people are interested, I will do that. The way I want to set the broadcast up, I'm going to talk about the program that aired today, August 1st, 2010. For people who are listening live, I hope you have been able to see the episode. If you're on the West Coast, it hasn't actually aired on the West Coast on the Cartoon Network, but, white people have a lot of technology, so if you have the internet, I've already seen it, so you should have been able to catch it already. If you're on the East Coast, Central Time, Mountain, it's already aired in your area. But before I get to today's broadcast, I want to rewind and talk about an episode that was 2 weeks ago, the Lovely Ebony Brown. Just to pick up general trends. We've done, I think this is the fourth broadcast about the Boondocks and just breaking down, images, themes that are consistent in the program and how that relates to the system of white supremacy. The last time that we discussed the Boondocks on the program, it was A Date with the Booty Warrior and Pause. Pause, the episode where they do the spoof on Tyler Perry, and A Date with the Booty Warrior, where they make a visit to greater confinement, local prison, lots of homosexual activity rife in both of those episodes. And in general, in the third season, there's been a lot more homosexual content, subject matter. in my view, that homosexual content that has been escalating. I do want to make sure that I point that out. That's been content that has been escalating over the 3rd season. Now, they have been doing the episodes with Gangstalicious, where he's a gay rapper, and some other little spots here and there, but there really has been, in my view, there has been a lot more homosexual content over the 3rd season as opposed to the last 2. But it is there. It is there if you look at the episodes. But I think that is strongly connected to the treatment of black females. I think the Irritated Genie, he looks at the term misogyny, and he ties that to anti-sex, white sex, homosexual behavior, and degrading of females or degrading of the opposite sex in general. And I would request anyone who is listening to this program, just open up another tab. Open up another tab and look at this. Look at the main page so that you can see the photographs that are flashing by, right, for this episode. Just take a moment. I'll be quiet. Images are important. We talked about that on the earlier broadcast with Dr. Kalina Craig Henderson. She talked about how the images of Wonder Woman had a strong influence on how people felt about white women, even, encouraging them to seek out a white sexual partner. Images are extremely important. So take a moment, open up another tab so you can see this program from the main page. That way you can see the images as they flash by. I even snatched an image from today's program. Just take a look at those images for a moment. I'll be quiet and I'll actually play a sound clip so you can take a moment and look at those images. And I want you to do it from the main page so you can see the images in full. If you're listening to this program as an archive, what you will need to do is go to the main page and then go to where the programs are listed by month, and just click on the tab for August 2010. And just scroll down. Keep going. You can scroll down, hit previous page if need be, because there'll probably be a lot, or I hope white people permitting, there will be a lot of broadcasts for August. Just hit previous page until you see this episode pop up when you look at the programs by month. But just look at August 2010, and you should be able to view this if you're listening via archive. But look at those images. I'll play a sound clip that I think fits nicely with those images. And just think of how you feel about the black women, black females, the way they are depicted in those images. And I will pick a sound clip to accompany as you watch those images scroll by. But those images, that covers all 3 seasons of the Boondocks. That's not just season 3. That covers all 3 seasons. So I will pick a sound clip. Take a moment to look at those images, please.
Do you know the story of Brenda Ritchie?
You mean Lionel Richie's wife?
No, Lionel Richie's ex-wife. It was 1988. Brenda Ritchie had just caught Lionel in bed with his future ex-wife, Dan Alexander.
Oh, I was hoping I would catch you up in here with that white bitch.
Oh, you should have seen this ass whipping. It was terrible. Oh, the humanity. Upside his head, upside his nose, all whipping his ass. Oh, it's terrible. Terrible.
How can you know that's how it happened? Were you there?
Brenda Ritchie knew Kung Fu. Jack Magazine said she used to fight in the Kumite.
Okay, we all got to stop and get back to my nigga God. Thank you, white Jesus, for making all this positive black possible. Amen. Okay, let's keep this moving.
Context of white supremacy. The first clip was from season 2. Season 2 episode, I believe that's episode 6, Attack of the Killer Kung Fu Wolf Bee from season 2. And the second clip that played there, that was from season 1, episode 10, Return of the King. Okay, and the clip that opened the program was also from season 2, and also from Attack of the Killer Kung Fu Wolf Bee. Okay, so if you're looking at those images, and then as I said, that covers all 3 seasons, I would just take a look at those images and ask, when one of the co-authors of Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation, and she'll be back on Thursday, August 4th. She'll be back for part 2. But one of the things she talked about, images, television, movies, film. I asked her a question, black people, if you are watching movies, watching films, a question to ask yourself. When I watch this movie, how does this make me feel about black people? And I would say just look at those images and ask more specifically, how do these images make me feel about black females? I have said, and I will stand very confidently, I've seen every episode of the Boondocks, with the exception of this week's episode, Kentucky Fried Flu, or Fried Chicken Flu, excuse me, Fried Chicken Flu. I have seen every episode at least 3 times. So I'm very confident in my understanding of the Boondocks. I'm very confident with regards to themes in the Boondocks, constant themes, changes. I'm very confident. I could be incorrect, but I'm real willing to stand confidently on my observations and thoughts about the Boondocks. Yeah, just look at those images and, just think. And as I said, that's from all 3 seasons. That's not piled up from one episode or even one season. That is from the whole television history of the series. Just look at those images. And the black female crying, she's crying because she couldn't get chicken. The image, if you caught that, that's from today's episode. She's, just in hysterics because she could not get chicken from KFC. And I also want to take a moment because people, I'm not calling out names, but there were some people who were either making comments or acting as though they wanted to defend the Boondocks. I'm totally willing to have pushback. Please call in if you think Gus is in error in his thoughts on the Boondocks. And again, I am a fan. There's a reason I have watched all of these episodes at least 3 times. I am a fan. The Boondocks, hilarious. I looked at the strip before it was a television show. I am just being observant of, just things that I see in the program that are a concern. We are in a system of white supremacy. The Boondocks frequently is talking about racism, white supremacy directly or indirectly. So, I'm just trying to be observant. I'm not hating on Aaron McGruder. He's a non-white person, so I suspect that he is also being victimized by racism, white supremacy. And as I touched on in an earlier program, there is a pattern of white people disrupting non-white programming, attempts to do television programs and or film. There's a long history of this, so I don't know why people think the Boondocks would be immune to this. And as I said in the description, I strongly suspect that this is a heavy contributing factor as to why the program is ending this season. They've had, whole episodes that have been banned and such. So that's all. I'm just shooting analysis. And someone else said, why are you picking on the Boondocks? You could do a program on South Park or The Simpsons or Family Guy, which is totally true. I don't really watch those episodes or those programs, rather, but I have seen episodes of South Park that I felt were loaded with racism, white supremacy. Absolutely right. I think we've done a ton of programs here at the Cows, analyzing other films, movies, television shows. I think we did at least 2 or 3 programs on Flash Forward, which came on ABC. absolutely right. I'm certain I could go to the video store and just pick out films at random and break down racism, white supremacy, and or television programs. Absolutely right. I'm just doing the Boondocks because it happens to be very popular. My listening audience seems to enjoy the programs on the Boondocks. I enjoy watching the Boondocks. I enjoy breaking down the racism, white supremacy, and it's something I would watch anyway. So that's all. I'm not, hating on Aaron McGruder. He is a victim of racism, white supremacy, and more than anything, white people are most to blame. So that's it. Getting to the Lovely Ebony Brown, which aired 2 weeks ago. That was episode 11 from season 3. So and the Lovely Ebony Brown. I knew that was going to be an episode that I was going to pay particular attention to because of the images that you're looking at. I hope you honored my request and you're looking or listening to this broadcast as you look at the images scrolling by. To have an episode where a black female, let me make sure I don't say plural, a singular black female is represented in a constructive manner. She's not crazy. She's not a prostitute. She's not obese. Is, really, really, really rare. I think it's never happened on the Boondocks. I don't think there's ever been a constructive, positive representation of a black female on the Boondocks. And again, I'm arrogant in my assessment of the Boondocks, so anybody, please call in. I'll give you the phone number. The number is 347-215-6071. Please call in and set Gus straight if I'm incorrect. We have people on the phone lines. As soon as I break down these two, I'll open the phone lines up. I encourage push back on this. The only times that black females are shown in a halfway all right light is that I can think of is season 2, the story of Catcher Freeman, Thelma. Okay, but this is all fantasy, right? This is all people just having little dream sequences, and in one of those sequences, Uncle Ruckus references her as a Jezebel and a Hessie and a Negress, and he regards her as an ape and some other things as well. But the other 2 vignettes, she is shown in a much more positive light. So that's one. And the other was I was thinking season 1, the story of the Wingman, when Riley goes back and he meets his friend in the old neighborhood, and his mom, I believe, she's talking to Huey, and she's trying to let him know that he missed Huey, he felt bad, that sort of thing. That's about it. Other than that, I cannot think of any positive, constructive black female characters on the Boondocks. I mean, number one, you don't really see black female characters on the Boondocks that often in the first place, which is interesting. But when you do, they generally are, I mean, look at those images. Look at those images. That's what I'm saying. Look at those images. That's the way black females normally look on the Boondocks. Obese, crazy, prostitutes, eating fried chicken. I mean, that is the consistent portrayal of black females on the Boondocks. Take it however you want. And again, hey, just look at those images. If you watch the Boondocks, just ask yourself, how do I feel about black females watching the Boondocks? Okay, so the Lovely Ebony Brown. And in fact, I'll play the opening clip. I'll play the opening clip from that episode, and, we'll go from there. So this is from season 3, episode 11, The Lovely Ebony Brown. We'll start there and then continue with that episode context of white supremacy.
Whom it may concern, this is Robert J. Freeman, astrophysicist, soccer star, ex-UFC welterweight champion. For many of you, this will be the last time hearing from me. Well, as of today, I'm deleting my Facebook account forever. I launched this page with high hope that it might help me find a woman to love me on those lonely nights when I'm not jetting around the world fighting terrorism. But all you bitches turn out to be bat crazy. Like that bat crazy Carlita, the Dominican drug queen.
An average-sized man can smuggle more cocaine in his rectum than you think.
or that crazy terrorist who tried to kidnap my grandson Riley.
That's adorable. I can't give him that. You can't make me. You can't make me.
And that crazy Dr. Ellen Jackson, who lured me with promises of romance and free checkup, and then tried to harvest my organs. From now on, I'm out of the game. Fortunately, I don't blame myself. I blame all of you. I know many of you ladies are saying, no, Robert, you can't take that good loving away from us. Well, it's too late. It's gone forever. And so with no regrets, I hereby commit Facebook carry. Delete.
Context of white supremacy. As I said, that's the kickoff for the Lovely Ebony Brown. That's how the episode begins. And I want to point out, you get anti-sex, homosexual reference where they're talking about how much narcotics you can stuff in a man's rectum, right? Hope people heard that, right? Okay. And I was going to steal some of the, or not steal, I was going to put up some of the images from that little montage right there, because you get to see the black female. She's kidnapped Riley and it's running down the street. You got the other black female and he says she's fat. She's looking to harvest his organs. That's another thing. The black females that are depicted generally overweight, obese. See quite a few images of black females eating fried chicken. If you pay attention closely, if you watch the episode Pause, where they do the parody of Tyler Perry, you will hear just before it's almost at the end of the episode, when they're showing Granddad actually doing the play, you will hear black females in the audience. Number one, you will see just gangs of obese black females, but then you'll hear them talking and they're saying, yeah, I use the leftover chicken grease as lip balm. It works really well. You'll hear this. If you listen, I was going to sound clip it, but it's real faint in the background. It would have been something you'd have really had to listen closely. But anybody, if you're a Boondocks fan and don't mind watching the episode, go back and listen to, this is Season 3, Episode 9. Season 3, Episode 8. Season 3, Episode 8, Pause. You will hear the black female saying this. So, okay, so back to Ebony Brown. Lovely Ebony Brown. And the name itself, I felt like the name was straining to call attention to the fact that we have a black female that is not crazy, deranged, a prostitute, Ebony Brown. I mean, a heavily racialized name calling attention to the fact that this is a black female that we are describing as lovely. And just look at those images. I keep saying, look at those images. And, you know, do you feel like these black females are being depicted in a lovely manner? So, Ebony Brown, I'll play another clip. I got another one from that episode. So I'll play one more clip, and then I'll give my analysis of the lovely Ebony Brown, Season 3, Episode 11. I'll get the other clip here from that episode as we move forward.
Soldier to the war is won.
Man, this weekly jog was a great idea, wasn't it? Look at us. We're workout buddies. Hey, speaking of buddies, I read your Facebook suicide note, man. Oh, I'm really sorry.
I'm not just giving up on Facebook. I'm giving up on women. It's pointless. These women out here are insane.
Robert. The key to happiness is to eliminate all black women from your life. I mean, look at me. No black women in my life. Look how happy I am. I'm happy as a nigga with a new gun.
Now, Ruckus, that is preposterous.
Oh, preposterous. Preposterous, really. Answer me a question. Is you happy?
Sure am.
Uh-huh. See? No black women in his life neither. Nigga free, and that's how he need to be.
Just because I'm married to a white woman doesn't mean there's a single thing wrong with black women.
True, but you did marry a white woman.
You have to find the woman who makes you happy, Robert.
Well, black women don't want to be happy. They squeeze out about 7 or 8 of them feeling nappy-headed chilling by the time they 21. It's all downhill from there. Look, oh, that woman's body over there, that's a temple. A black woman's body is a temple of doom. When was the last time you saw a black woman jogging, Robert? Ask yourself that question. And I ain't talking about them super steroided she-males in the Olympics that tuck their testicles up either.
Well, come to think of it.
That's what I thought. You ain't never seen it, because black women don't jog. That way they don't sweat out all them industrial strength toxic Avenger chemicals they use to straighten out their hair.
Sarah loves to jog.
Well, of course you do. Sarah is a human being.
Okay, fellas, enough of the guy talk, jibber jabber, talky talk. Can we just start running already? Come on!
You coming?
I ain't running with y'all two niggers in the park. Police might shoot me by mistake. See you on the other side, nigga!
Context of white supremacy. I want to take this moment. MacBook Pro. MacBook Pro. The program was supposed to be ending on Friday, August 5th. If I did not have a MacBook Pro, I still do not have a MacBook Pro, but it will not be ending. In fact, we will be broadcasting on Friday, August 5th with Sister Nefertari, Children of Southampton. But sound clips are known. Sound clips alone. I'm very proud of the work I've been able to do with sound clips to support different points that I have raised on the cows. And just the cowbell alone, I think the sound clips have been an integral and constructive aspect of the program. It would be much easier if I had my own computer, and the images. I think the images have also been very constructive aid with the cows. MacBook Pro, if you think the program has been constructive, please invest. We are close. We are close, roughly 700 beans away from being able to get the exact MacBook Pro that I want to continue the broadcast. And, man, that would be extremely helpful to do one program per week about counter-violence, because then I wouldn't have to worry about computer access. It would be easy. In fact, we could lock a date and time that would be most constructive for everyone and just have one day, one time every week that everyone knows we'll be doing a cows broadcast. Mr. Williams from Counter Racism suggested that from the very beginning, have at least one day that is locked where you do a show every week, same day, same time. If I get a computer, we can do that. In fact, I'll make that deal. As soon as I get my MacBook Pro, we'll make that deal. You all can figure out what day and time would be most constructive, and we'll lock in a date time for counter-violence. But anyway, MacBook Pro. So, Ebony Brown. That clip that you just heard, number one, that just strikes me as very, very homosexual, very homoerotic, to have a bunch of black males standing around and talking bad about black females. And what you need to do is get rid of black females. Whoa. And as I said, you couple that with the fact that you do not have representation of black females, for the most part, in the program at all. You do have heavy representation of black males being married to white women, Tom's character, and that pops up frequently. And I was even going to go back and play the little snippet from the Pause episode where Granddad says he wanted I might have to play it because it's important. I'm gonna see if I can find it, if I still have it among my sound clips. Let's see. Do I have it? Forgive me. I'm just gonna check really quick to see if I have that because it's important. I can make a point with that if it's here.
I like this little nigga, but you left one thing out, little.
Okay, that's not it. Might not have it. If I don't have it, it's no big deal, but I do want to check. Let's see.
Hello.
Oh, I do have it, and I think this is it.
Robert, you are amazing. Jesus and I were so pleased.
Don't give me that bush. This is the big prize? Where the Alicia Keyses? Where the Beyoncés? Where's Wonder Woman? All I see is Florida.
Bam. Let me play that again because I cut it a little early. Let me play that one more time. Let's see.
Robert, you are amazing. Jesus and I were so pleased.
Don't give me that bush. This is the big prize? Where the Alicia Keyses? Where the Beyoncés? Where's Wonder Woman? All I see is Florida Evanses. I can get a big bitch on my own. I had to kiss you on stage.
Bang, that's all I needed. I'm not even going to play the rest of it. Alicia Keys, I believe, has a white parent. I could be incorrect about that, but I believe she does have a white parent. I already told you, Wonder Woman, we already did that today. Go back and listen to and look at the image for the program with Dr. Kalina Craig Henderson. That was also on Sunday, August 1st, and we discussed the impact that Wonder Woman Linda Carter has on black males. Check that out, and black females, because some of the callers talked about that. But that was Alicia Keys, Beyonce. Just, look at her, and, if you feel like the blonde hair and all that stuff, I think she lighter complexion. Just, how you feel about that, and particularly contrast programming, Granddad contrasting those females to Florida Evans. Good times. Just, how you feel about that. Anyway, so back to the lovely Ebony Brown. So I felt like the first 3-4 minutes of the episode, you heard the first 3-4 minutes of that episode already, the sound clips that I played. That's like the first 3 minutes of that episode is basically, in my view, it is a summary of how the Boondocks has represented and talked about black females for its entire history on television. Total degradation of black females. Total degradation of black females. That, in my view, set up the episode, and if you watch it, that's the way it plays out, because we finally have a black female who is not a prostitute, not crazy, not obese, a attractive, constructively functioning black female, a total anomaly, and nobody on the show knows how to interact with her. Everyone is stunned. Everyone is stunned, and everyone is waiting for her to act crazy, for her to wig out, for her to have kids. I mean, if you watch the episode, it's everyone. Uncle Ruckus, the kids, I think when Granddad, when he goes home to tell Huey and Riley about Ebony Brown, they run upstairs and get, weaponry to prepare to meet this female. I mean, that makes the episode. Granddad's inability to constructively relate to Ebony Brown because she's not crazy. That makes the episode. She is such an anomaly to the normal depiction of black females on the Boondocks. Now, I could be wrong, but I would strongly assert, look at those images, and anybody, if you have watched the Boondocks consistently, how does Ebony Brown's character compare to all of the other black females that you see on the Boondocks? Just think about it. Anyone, if you watch the Boondocks or what have you, I see people calling in. I'm trying to decide if I want to entertain feedback right now. You all are going to have to wait. Sorry. I see you, person that called in 6325. Just hang tight. I definitely want people to push back on this because I'm arrogant in my views on the Boondocks. I feel that I can support my views. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Yeah, I see you. I'll get you. Just let me finish up with Ebony Brown and tonight's program, and I will open up everybody on the phone line so you can, push back if you think I'm incorrect or what have you. But that's my view, and as I said, I feel like the representation of black females is important on its own, even if you didn't have the homosexual aspect, is very important. I think Dr. Craig Henderson, psychologist, she talked about that today. When you have images that are consistently degrading black females and degrading black relationships, black couples in general, that has a real corrosive impact on younger black people in general, and their willingness, their thoughts about pursuing a relationship with a black person has a real corrosive impact, and it is a concern for me. Even being someone who watches the Boondocks and enjoys it, that is something that I pay attention to, and I wonder about consistently why black females are either not represented where you don't see them at all, or when you do see them, they look like the images that are flashing before your face right now. At any rate, lovely Ebony Brown, it does not work out. Granddad is not able to relate to a healthful black female at all. He is not able to relate to a well-adjusted, non-crazy black female. Totally falls apart. He's acting crazy. He cannot deal with it at all, and she ends up leaving him, which is no surprise. I mean, I felt like I was waiting for things to fall apart. It just had to. There was no way we could have a regular, normal, functioning black female be a character on the Boondocks. That just would be an anathema to the way the program has ran for 3 years. I don't know what's influencing that. I know people have made comments and sent me posts about Aaron McGruder. I'm not going to get into all that because it's gossip and rumor and I can't substantiate, but it's out there if you want to search. I know people have commented that the black male who does the voice for Uncle Ruckus, that he might be married to a white person. I have seen photographs of what appears to be his offspring, and it looks like that could be possible. I don't know. I do know Regina King, who does the voice for Huey and Riley. I have read the article that she wrote advocating that black people, and I think she was talking to black females specifically, that they seek sexual partners whom are not black. So that's just stuff that I think about as I watch the episode, and for me, all of the homosexual activity and the degradation of black females, all of that goes together, and I look kind of strange at the Boondocks, like what is going on with all of this. I don't know if white people are influencing this. I don't know if this says something about how the black people who participate in the program, how they feel about black females. I don't know, but it is there, and I am waiting and hoping for pushback on this if somebody says that they disagree, they don't think this is true. Before I move on to tonight's program, I just want to make sure I've covered everything I wanted to about that. Just the exception proves the rule. I'll make sure I hammer that home. Dr. Martin Kevorkian, he talked about that when we were here, and I asserted that you will be hard-pressed to find a film, television program where white people are not lying and being deceptive. And he said that the one he could think of is Forrest Gump, but he said the exception proves the rule. White people have whole bodies of literature and theories around this where you have an exception, that proves the rule. Anytime you have an exception to the rule, that proves what we normally do. In my view, the Lovely Ebony Brown, man, if you want an idea about the Boondocks and how black females are represented in the Boondocks, I would say watch the Lovely Ebony Brown, because they give you a black female that is not crazy, not a prostitute, not obese, healthy black female, and it is a total anomaly to the Boondocks, and everything about that episode is about her being an anomaly to the way black females are represented on the Boondocks. So I think that is a fantastic illustration of the exception proving the rule, at least with regards to the Boondocks. Outstanding, I think. And this is a side note, just related. The Boondocks also has a habit of bringing up black males, real-life black males, to bash on. I don't know what that's all about. A lot of black people do that, so I mean, it's not that surprising. But they've kind of taken some jabs at Bill Cosby here and there, and Jesse Jackson a few times. And I just, from the Lovely Ebony Brown episode, Granddad is telling a story, and they kind of do a parody of when Jesse Jackson said that he wanted to cut President Obama's nuts off back. That was 2008 during the campaign. He tells a story and says that about Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson wanted to cut his nuts off, and then they did from episode 1, season 3. Granddad is telling a story of being in the civil rights movement, and Jesse Jackson dipped out on him. He was supposed to be protesting with them, and he went and hid, and he called him a punk ass or something to that effect. I just noted that as well. Again, as I said, just keep in mind, how do you feel about black people watching the Boondocks? Keep that in mind. Look at those images. Look at those images. Okay, going to tonight's episode. I knew this was going to be an episode that would be easy to do a broadcast on. Everybody that called in, I should be able to wrap this up in like 15, 20 minutes, no more than 20 minutes, maybe even quicker than that. And I'll go to the phone line, so people, if you want to push back, and I want some pushback. I'd love to have somebody tell me I'm wrong on this, because I can back this up with sound clips, images, the whole nine. I can flex my counter-racist understanding with the Boondocks pretty well. And I want this stated for the record. My goal is to be as confident with regards to being codified, to be able to publicly speak about racism, white supremacy. I want to be this confident and skilled when we get to counter-violence. I want to be this comfortable, this confident, speaking about racism, white supremacy with regards to counter-violence. That's the goal, and that's why we're going to be doing one program per week on counter-violence. So this will be switching. Hopefully you'll see Gus with the same level of confidence. It's not going to be that way in the beginning. You'll get to see the growth curve, hopefully, as we go with this, but that's the goal, to not just be on here talking arrogant and confident about a cartoon, but to be talking arrogant and confident and constructively about racism, white supremacy with regards to counter-violence, 9th area of people activity, war. That's coming on the cows. But for now, back to the cartoons. In fact, that is the pathetic nature of black males in a system of white supremacy. I will... double whammy. Yeah, there we go. So back to grown black male talking about cartoons. Okay, so tonight's episode, the fried chicken flu. I knew this episode would be easy to do a program about as soon as I heard that it was coming out. I didn't read. Normally they have material up so you can read a little bit about the episode before it comes on. They generally do promos. The white people at Comedy Central, they generally have promos out at least a week in advance. You can see the next episode, what it's going to be about. I didn't watch any of that. I just, as soon as I got a wind that they were going to be doing this and I kind of had an idea what it was going to be about, I went immediately and just went ahead and put tonight's program in because I knew this is going to be another one where black people are going to be looking stupid and crazy, and that's pretty much what it was. Although it was very constructive. It was very constructive for me for a lot of reasons, but I would definitely point to this as an episode where I would say, look at this episode and, you know, think about how you feel about black people as you watch this episode, how black people are depicted as you watch the episode. For people who didn't see it, basically it's a parody. I don't know if folks remember when Oprah Winfrey, I guess she made a deal with Kentucky Fried Chicken to give away free chicken dinner one day. I think they got the new grilled chicken, and it was it was not constructive. It was a lot of fighting and arguing and such at the KFC. I think some of them ran out of chicken, and I saw some video clips on YouTube where people were in the drive-thru and wouldn't move. It just was real. It was double whammy. Yeah. Double whammy. Yeah. And so that was what tonight's episode was based off of. They show it on television. They're going to be giving away the free chicken. Granddad and Riley are ecstatic. Huey is codified. He's working on the generator. He doesn't think that the KFC chicken incident is, he's not attributing that the chaos and the impending doom is going to be because of the KFC chicken giveaway. He's just doing this in general. And he's a vegetarian, so he's not, really that concerned about the chicken in the first place. But Granddad and Riley, they go to get the chicken, and they've run out of chicken. It's a big line. All these people outside the restaurant acting crazy. There's some of the stuff that I noted immediately. Number one, just you got all these. They had white people, too. I want to make sure I'm clear. They had white people outside, too. So it wasn't just all black people at the chicken facility trying to get this free chicken dinner. But it was a lot of black people, and it was, the consistent theme that I see on the Boondocks. Black people looking crazy, fighting over chicken. One black man, he gets in his car and rams the restaurant. The thing that I did note, all of the workers at KFC were white. I found that very interesting. I don't really go to KFC. They do have them here in Seattle, Washington, but I don't really go to KFC. I don't know. That was just very interesting to me to see a group of white workers with all of these black people rushing in to get chicken. Very, very strange. At any rate, turns out that the chicken is contaminated, and people start getting sick. Huey immediately attributes this to the chicken, like, everybody's getting sick. We need a code. You talk about counter-racist code. Man, you get to see it in this episode. Huey, very codified. He has packets. He has reading materials. He has supplies saved. He has planned for what to do when the chaos breaks out. Very interesting, particularly to contrast his codification against the non-codified conduct of all of the other black people in the episode. It was fascinating to watch just in that regard. In fact, when the epidemic begins, right, and they're coming on the news that people are getting sick all over the country from this chicken flu, and Huey is like, okay, here's the code. This is what we're going to do. We have water saved. We have food saved. I have a pamphlet prepared. It's in bold print. Read the pamphlet. And Granddad and Riley, I don't want to read this. I'm not going to read this. Can you just give me the gist of it? And I was just cracking up laughing. I was like, that is black people. And specifically, I felt like that is us with Neely Fuller Jr.'s The Code Book, the ISIS Papers, books in general. Black people not willing to read. And I want to make sure I'm clear on this. I'm not saying this is anything, genetic about black people. That is our Samboification because of the system of white supremacy. I got to use word of the day, Samboification. I got that from Friday's guest, Jan Nedervan Peterson. He used that in the book, Samboification. I was cracking up laughing when I read. He used it more than once. That was the crazy thing. He had it in quotes, so I don't know who said it first, but apparently that is a word that racist white supremacists use for how they groom black people to be buffoons, ignorant, uncodified, non-constructive in a system of white supremacy. But, yeah, to see the Samboification play out in this episode of the Boondocks, man, it was bad. And the thought that I had in my mind was, white people could kill us all anytime. Anytime. I mean, it was funny, but, I mean, that was really the thought that was in my head. White people could kill us all easily. Anytime. I'm not going to be out here talking loud and rowdy, jumping up and down. White people ain't nothing, and these white people, these crap. White people could kill us all anytime. Easily. They could do exactly what was in the Boondocks episode tonight. We're giving out free chicken, poison the chicken, we would be gone. And who would cry? Who would cry? Who would be upset? Please. Please. But the lack of codification, it really stood out. Nobody wanted to read the book. They didn't want to follow the rules. He was trying to tell them what to do. Don't allow other people in. Don't do this. Don't, just simple things. Couldn't even do that. Couldn't even do that. Don't sleep with white people. No, can't even do that. It was great. It was a fantastic illustration of the lack of codification that black people have. That's the way that I looked at tonight's episode. And so you see the code falling apart, right? Just little things about not allowing other people in the house. Like everybody is getting sick. Huey explains they have a limited amount of food. Just limited resources in general. And you don't know who's sick. You don't know who's eating the chicken, might be infected. Don't let other people in the house. Can't even do that. Granddad immediately breaks the rule. Lets in a black female. I was gonna shoot an image from that up tonight, but I decided not to. But he lets in a black female who ultimately ends up having sex with Thugnificent, and he calls her a whore and something else. And they have an image of them, half dressed. She doesn't have any pants on. She's running around the house. I thought that exact theme of the Boondocks, black females being poorly portrayed. She doesn't even have any lines. All they show is her sitting at the table, eating food, sitting around the house, and then her having sex with Thugnificent and running around half naked. That's how she's depicted. So I'll take that, too, in black females being poorly portrayed on the Boondocks. But back to the lack of codification, which I felt was really the central aspect of the episode. They're letting other people in the house, so they're letting all these other folks in, which is compromising, the resources that they have. As it continues, and people are getting rowdy outside, white people come to the Freedman house, right? Mrs. Van Housen. I don't know if you're longtime fans of the Boondocks, season 2, it's episode, I believe it's season 2, episode 3, Stop Snitching. But there's an episode where in season 2 where a lot of houses are being robbed. and white people, they have a neighborhood watch in the Freeman's neighborhood. And the leader is an older white woman. Her name is Mrs. Van Housen. And she is armed. She has an assault rifle. She is ready to roll. And interesting thing, if you want to watch that episode closely, there's a scene during the meeting where Mrs. Van Housen is talking, and Tom and Uncle Ruckus are the only non-white people present. There's a frame where Mrs. Van Housen, the white woman, is talking. Tom is standing next to her, and there's a cannon on her table. The cannon is pointed at the genitals of Tom. If you watch closely, that is in the scene. The cannon is pointed at Tom's genitals. Watch it. Season 2, the episode is titled Thank You for Not Snitching. Season 2 of the Boondocks. But anyway, so Mrs. Van Housen, she pops back up. She's in this episode. White people have rallied. They've got a little mob together, and they come to the Freeman's house. And they're like, we've heard you got resources, water, food, whatever. We want to inspect your house. And Huey, he comes to the door, and he's like, no, the code is, I told you don't let people in, don't let them in. And they're like, hey, white people are comfortable with violence. That's why we're doing the program. So the white people, Mrs. Van Housen, and Uncle Ruckus is with them. The white people say, hey, if you don't open the door, we will come in. We will use force to enter your residence. Code. Huey has this and the code because everybody is panicking in the house, Granddad, Riley. Huey doesn't panic. We got a code for this. We have homemade tear gas. Violence. That's why I said we're going to be doing counter violence once a week because that is integral. We got major deficiencies in that area, and I'm looking forward to it. But I loved it. They got counter violence code. They go on the roof. They're throwing tear gas. They get the people up out of there. It was fantastic. I love that part of the program. Outstanding for having a counter-violence code. So they get rid of the white people for the time being. They get rid of the white people, and they go back. And you get to see, just more, in my opinion, black people looking Samboified. You got Leonard, who has brought chicken into the house, and he does not think it's chicken because it's buffalo wings, so he thinks it's buffalo. I just thought that was, double whammy. Yeah, black people looking stupid, Samboified, if you will. Tom has eaten the buffalo wings, so he's gotten sick. At this point, this is when Thugnificent has sex with the black female that Granddad let in the house. He gets upset and kicks all of them out, Thugnificent, the black female, and Leonard, who brought the chicken in. He gets upset, kicks all three of them out. At this point, the white people come back. They are armed. And movies. I don't know if people caught that, but the way they were dressed, they were spoofing off of the film Mad Max with Mel Gibson. I forgot Mel Gibson was in that. Wow, given his recent comments about niggers. But yeah, they're spoofing Mad Max. So Mrs. Van Housen and Uncle Ruckus, they all come back, and they're dressed like the characters in Mad Max. So they come back, and they're like, give up the goods, we're coming in your house. Code, Huey and the gang, Huey decides, we don't have the resources to adequately defend the residents. Tom is sick, we need to leave. So they hop in the car, exit. The white people, they hop on a bus and chase them down. I think this scene is in Mad Max. I could be mistaken. It's been a while since I've seen Mad Max. But I think that happens in that film. So they're doing the chase. They get away from the white people, and then it's announced that the flu is not deadly. It was just salmonella. Nobody's dying. Everybody is going to be okay, in a matter of time or what have you. And that's pretty much it. And it ends with everyone storming back to KFC to get their chicken. End of episode. That double whammy. Yeah. All is well. Black people just want their chicken. At any rate, number one, I would encourage anybody, as I said, I'm not bashing on Aaron McGruder. I suspect white people directly or indirectly are heavily influencing the writing and how black people are portrayed on the program. I think that's why the series is ending this season. And it could be that indirectly, it could just be the victims of white supremacy who are participating in the program. It could be that, you know, they have been victimized as well, and this is coming out in the writing and how they depict the story. I think there is some conflict there because, as I said, episodes have been banned, and the season is ending. The series, is ending this season. So I think there is some conflict, some resistance there. But, you know, at the end of the day, as I said, I would just ask, how do you feel about black people? How do you feel about black people watching any television program, Boondocks, or anything else? How does it make you feel about black people? And if it makes you feel bad, do you attribute it to white people, the system of white supremacy? Most of the time on the Boondocks, it's not attributed to white people. I don't think that was always the case. In my view, first season, there's several times where characters make comments that attribute the poor behavior of black people and poor conditions of black people to white people. Even if you go back to season 1, the trial of R. Kelly, the episode ends, Huey says, you know, well, at least I can't blame white people for this one. And he stops and says, wait a minute, what am I saying? Even that right there, attributing the Negro madness that black people display every day, attributing that to white people. Just from time to time now, I don't see that. I still see it sometimes. I think the Pause episode, I think they did a great job, the way they worked in White Jesus, sanctioning Tyler Perry doing all this gay stuff and homosexual activity. I still see it from time to time, but there are other times where I don't see it, where it seems like we're just making black people the butt of jokes just to be funny, which I don't know. In my view, I suspect that's why it's ending. I suspect there's some internal dissonance about that, which is why the program is ending. In fact, it reminds me of Dave Chappelle. Same thing, seeming like at some point, are we just making fun of black people just to be funny? I don't know how I feel about that. I think that's what drove Dave Chappelle to leave the Chappelle Show. I think the same thing might be happening with the Boondocks and causing Aaron McGruder to leave. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm seeing in the program. Let me see if I had any other notes. Yep, as I said, I watched this episode. White people would stomp us anytime. White people could kill us all. They wouldn't have to come out with guns and rifles or whatever. They could slip something in the food easily, water, whatever. They could slip it in, and we would be out of here quickly. Lack of codification, that was the other big thing that stood out. Non-white people, black people specifically, total lack of codification. I hope we can correct that because white people, man, they're already tough to deal with when you're not prepared, when you're not codified, when you do not have just basic strategies down for what to do to solve problems, how to deal with specific situations. Easy pickings. Easy pickings. Yeah, I think adequate job. Wrap that up in less than an hour. I can go to the phone lines. I am going to take a moment to support both Mr. Williams and Sister Nefertari, and then I'm going to go to the phone lines. If my Bay Area caller, my Bay Area caller, if you want to. You don't have to. It's all your world. But if you would like to use Skype, that would be cool. It might open the phone lines up to allow other people to call in, but you don't have to. If you want to hop on Skype, I can put you on my line. If you don't want to, if you want to hang out on your phone, do your thing. No worries at all. Just throwing it out as an option. All right, going to support Sister Nefertari and the children of Southampton because they will be, she will be a guest on the program Friday, August 5th, and also support Mr. Williams promoting their material really quick. And then I'll open the phone lines up and look forward to people pushing back and telling me that I'm wrong. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. We can discuss the Boondocks, and it'll be great if we're all in agreement, but I don't care. I'm cool in the gang. Check the phone line as soon as I'm done with the commercial context of white supremacy.
The second annual Nat Turner Day Weekend Celebration 2010, The Resurrection of Haiti, Friday, August 20th to Sunday, August 22nd, at the Church of the Advocate, 1801 West Diamond Street, Philadelphia, PA, sponsored by the Children of Southampton, featuring Umar Abdullah Johnson, the Irritated Genie of Southeast, Sister Nefertari, Mary Lou Nzinga, the Universal African Dance and Drum Ensemble, the Lest We Forget Black Holocaust Slave Museum, and a special feature, the Nat Turner Day African Insurrection Musical with Brothers Keeper, the African Marketplace, and much, much more. The cost for the entire weekend, $50 for black adults, $25 for black students and children under 12, and $25 for black elders 65 and older. For more information, contact the Children of Southampton at www.ourcause.com. That's www.ourkos.com or 888-817-3235. That's toll free at 888-817-3235.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? At counterracism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open-source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by counterracism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com.
Our people are very serious about not being very serious. Meanwhile, white people are very serious about playing hardball against us. And this hardball is called genocide.
Context of white supremacy. I'm going to get the folks who put a hand up just in case they had beef with something I said. We can hear what they have to say, and then I'm just going to put everybody on. So person that called in 6325. Your line is open. Did you have a question, comment? 6325.
Yes. It's kind of hard to do any pushback because you covered so many topics. Basically, I mean, it's all I could say is you hit the nail on the head, and I'm gonna hit another nail on the head. Basically, from what I believe, and I haven't seen any evidence to the contrary, yes, Aaron McGruder is worthy of the cowbell. Okay, or even the cow sound.
Okay.
You know, I mean, actually, he's worthy of a herd of cows. But I also, you know, from his inception, and I see how he depicts black women and black men. It's also, and also the sexuality, how he approaches that, and especially, I'm sure you caught the instead of the trilateral commission, he kept saying trisexual, and you know,
right.
I've seen this increasing form of deviance, or as Irritated Genie would say, white sex, and each episode progressing and progressing. Now, I'm not sure if it's an unconscious or a conscious method of confusion, you know, being very confused about the context of, you know, white supremacy, or even if he had even realized that it exists. Apparently, he must realize that it exists because, you know, this topic or his topics wouldn't be, you know, he would be writing about bling blinging and, you know, having fun and XSL and World Star Hip Hop, but for some reason, you know, there's a lot of confusion. I just see it across the board, and not only just the sexuality, but also in loyalties. Okay, look at the loyalty between. I'm glad you brought up the Mel Gibson. Look at, and there was a lot deeper context of what you saw the white woman in charge of leading. Okay, of leading. Especially when you saw his depiction of Obama, i.e., a Negro who's leading, you know, as opposed to this white, you know, this Caucasian leading, and it was more of a militaristic view, whereas Obama was more of, this placid, almost emasculated, like, oh, well, just listen to my soothing voice. And I've seen this thing in other episodes, and that might show up in his confusion as to loyalty, whether it be, who his partners are, romantic or sexual partners are or whatnot. I just see it, But I wanted to leave you with two things that there was one old Twilight Zone called The Shelter, which was a lot where this came from, as well as The Monsters on Mulberry Street. And just by watching it, it's they depicted blacks as he depicts us as very confused, very as you said, the samplification or complete buffoonerosity, for lack of a better term, it's almost like mirroring. How could I say this? It's almost like saying white folks is right about y'all all the time, and I don't know if this is his swan song, being able to prove something of that nature. I might be, totally off base, but just some things I've been watching about him.
Wow. Right. You said, I just want to make sure folks heard the. I don't know if these are well, I guess Twilight Zone, that is a television program, but The Shelter, that was the episode from the Twilight Zone, and Monsters of Mulberry Street. Was that the other title?
Yeah, these were old Twilight Zones, and that's kind of the basis of these.
Okay, old Twilight. I will see if I can check both of those out. So these are both Twilight Zone, The Shelter, and Monsters of Mulberry Street. Check those out. 6325, hang on the line. I want to get the other person. If we don't have pushback, I'm just going to put everybody on, but I thought somebody might be here to defend and say I'm incorrect. The person that called in 5511, did you have a question, a comment?
Hey, it's Thomas, Gus.
Oh, we have no pushback today. Everybody that called in, your line is on. Everybody that called in, line is on. I guess unless somebody that's on the line, if you have pushback, go ahead. If not, Mr. Thomas, feel free.
Nah, I mean, I think your analysis is spot on. Aaron McGruder, I think like he said, he's seen the writing on the wall. As far as career, it's pretty much, I think, almost done. So he's going to have to find a new career. And I guess his stance was, when it got to the point where basically we were the butt of every joke, he decided, he'd end it because his art was being perverted. But it's sad because there's some useful nuggets. Every time you watch every episode, he masterfully puts certain things in there for you to just look in. Sometimes they're just an eyesore to look at, but there's so many elements of truth that you find in what he does that is sad. The last episode, let's say 2 episodes ago, was it Lovely Ebony Brown, or what was the name of that episode?
That's it. You got it, sir.
That Lovely Ebony Brown? Okay.
Yes, sir.
That was a very interesting episode because I thought he was really trying to pay, in that one, he tried to really pay homage to black women that, who really try to, conduct themselves in a certain way. And what it basically showed is that how black men are so confused that if they got a good black woman, they wouldn't know what to do with her when they got her. Hence the grandfather and his, uncodified behavior. So that was a very interesting episode to watch because I've been fortunate. I've come across quite a few good black women in my lifetime, and I thought about that. I was like, I wonder if maybe not to the extreme of the grandfather. I'm gonna fly around the world and stalk someone or act crazy and call his phone, but maybe, you know, in my past, you know, maybe not necessarily, and not even, you know, the stereotypes of, you know, all of them having, you know, children and having bad credit, but just maybe certain criteria I was looking for. And not talking about looks, but there's a certain temperament that I do look for in a woman. And so, you know, maybe I have to adjust certain things. It was just a very interesting episode. So I think your analysis of this episode was spot on. But as far as for the series, it's you know, I want to say that his humor is not for the faint of heart. It really isn't. Some people, you know, who watch it and just retch when they look at it, because some of it, like I said, is just it's the truth. It's unfortunate, but some of it is just the truth. Yeah, it's hyperbole, but a lot of some of it is the truth. I look at it and I just shake my head because I just think, I'm like, wow, I know someone who does that. I've seen someone do that. You know?
Granddad's Fight, I think that would be a great example. I know that was an episode I watched. I still watch that episode. That's probably one of my favorite episodes. But definite hyperbole, but I think it's spot on with our Samboification and the way we conduct ourselves and are ready to, at the drop of a dime, fight one another over any silly little incident is a worldwide catastrophe with us. I think we demonstrate that every day. Yeah, as I said, everybody's on the line. If you all have comments, concerns, anybody disagrees, feel free.
Okay, well, this is 6325 again. You know, I was waiting for other comments. I didn't want to be loquacious or anything. One of the things that I noticed, okay, is this, how could I say, this promotion of a quote-unquote Willie Lynch, okay? Whether it's the two brothers fighting, whether it's man, woman, it's always evidenced in black folk. You know, as where you don't really see that, you know, whether it's the old versus the young, the significant episodes or what. And the thing is, it's really, really, that hit me was the episode called Red Ball, okay? Now, of course, like I said, he is probably cowbell worthy, as, you know, apparently, you know, he's, you know, one of his significant others is a half Asian or whatnot. And to promote, it was the stereotype of, okay, now this is who's next in power, i.e. the Asians. And that one scene where the Huey and the little Asian child, you know, and as he was showing sympathy to a certain amount, you know, to more than he would show anyone else. You know, it was something, there was something hidden within this Aaron McGruder that maybe he's trying to promote a certain you know, like I said, his confusion, for lack of a better term. There's also some things that I've been noticing, and which is sad, is the fact that a lot of these, especially whether they're actors or even the Aaron McGruders, they only see, or as Brother Kush said, 2 weeks ahead. They don't see the grand picture. I do a lot of traveling, and I travel the world. I've been everywhere except for the North and South Pole, pretty much. And these depictions of who we are, especially in the age of internet and, you know, Google versus China or whatnot, these depictions, the ramifications in the next 5 to 10 years, we won't have to worry about wiping us off the face of the earth. I don't even know if it'll last that long, okay, because the depictions are going to show up in our paychecks, whether we want to do international business, where we want food, what we want commodities, whether we want medical care. These things, these Boondocks and all these other, you know, of course, because these individuals can only see the short term. What's happening in the long term is, like when I saw that Asian episode of Red Ball, as a commodity trader and advisor, the Chinese and Indian and a lot of these, what we call them, emerging and frontier markets, that was basically, as one would say, a pimping out from the game, saying, look, these guys are definitely next in power, whether they're Hispanic, i.e. the one episode when the itis, when the Hispanic guy, you know, he says we're letting the old guy the old white guy that owns the restaurant says we're gonna that he fired one of the workers because she was only half Mexican. We're seeing a lot of emerging markets and emerging. So basically, he's leaving credence to, oh yeah, these other folk are getting ahead, but y'all ain't got a chance. Well, amplify that with other people that watch these images of black folk. I've seen it in China. I've seen it in Mexico and other places I've been around the world. They look at us and say, we can't do business with y'all. We watch shows like Norbit and Boondocks and Hip Hop and XSL or whatever. So, as when you're saying, yeah, they could wipe us off, I think that process is pretty much, have been kind of, for lack of a better term, the momentum is gained quite substantially.
And kind of piggyback on that, 6325, this is Thomas. I've actually, I've gone overseas, and it really is starting. I'm talking about over a decade ago. I went to Turkey, and I went to Bulgaria, and it was disturbing because they're getting all these images from MTV and everything. It's like every kid who encountered me either asked me if I was a basketball player, if I was a rapper, and they wanted to spit a hot 16. It was just unnerving just to see how much influence pop culture had overseas. And I can only imagine if you go over there now. I mean, now it's to the point of where the buffoonery that's taken place ever since then. It's just astounding. And so I think you're 100% right. We talked about this just the other day as far as people overseas, specifically Chinese. There's no way for them to take us seriously because of like the images that you see on TV and how we're depicted, and it's just very damaging. It's just like Precious. I mean, anyone who sees Precious and they don't put context behind the time frame that movie took place in 1980s New York, which not much has really changed, but it was definitely a different era. You look at that movie and say these people don't deserve anything. They're animals. That's what someone else outside would probably look at it and say. Look how they live. They're animals. These people don't deserve any opportunity. That's how the Chinese and the Indians probably look at it. It's sad.
Right. In Serbia and the Ukraine, where the Boondocks is gaining momentum, as well as when I was in Mexico, and basically the N-word, there's folks that run around, and if you're black, that's kind of like, oh yeah, because that's what they see. Okay, and it's not just Boondocks, but a lot of hip hop. We see a lot of them running around with like Ice Cube shirts, and now it's they think, oh, this is what these ends like, And I was in Mexico, and the far reaches of a very remote village. Okay, and one of the and it was almost where the indigenous folk before so they were they were very remote. He asked me, "Are you from New Orleans?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I think that's where all you guys are going, my N." And I was like, but he's saying it in Spanish, but the N-word was in English. So, this is the depiction, and keep in mind in the context. It's always about in context. That same time, the episode where where what's the name was possessed by Stink Nina or whatnot. Remember, the young lady that Grandpa was trying to court was a Hispanic woman. So it's everything's is always in context. This Boondocks, as well as other things, not only do we have to be very, very suspicious of, but we almost might in the near future have to use it to guard ourselves for survival. To say this is, to run from it, learn from it, but run from it is like, like a moth to a or not a moth to a flame, but run from it like someone running out of a burning house.
Mister, you said 6325.
Mm-hmm.
For clarity's sake, sir, what does the cowbell mean to you?
I would ask Gus, but I think you might want to listen to, was it Gus on February 26, 2010? I believe it was that episode.
Non-Mighty Wick, did you get your question answered?
No, I was curious, what did it mean to you, sir?
Oh, yeah, from what I gathered from the February 26th episode is those that are involved in, for lack of a better term, white sex and those who participated, and how, you know, how can I say, because I'm trying to remember all of it, you know, I know it's a better description on the February 26th episode of the C.O.W.S.
Okay, thank you.
I've heard that rumored. I just wanted to put, I've heard that rumored, but I didn't want to bash a victim, particularly if I can't substantiate. I would love to have him on the program, Mr. McGruder, but I've heard that rumored. But yeah, it might be accurate. It might be, I've heard that rumored about several of the folks on the Boondocks staff. And as I said, Regina King, she had her article and everything. So that's just stuff I keep in mind as I watch the program. I know Mr. Nero, I believe, is with us, Bay Area listener, and somebody at a blocked number. Did you all have commentary as well, or are you just listening?
I'm just listening for now.
Ditto. Ditto, I'm just listening for now.
I'm just listening for now.
Okay. Who on the line actually got to see tonight's episode?
I did.
I did.
6325.
Okay.
Yep.
Did the lack of codification, did that stick out to the folks who got to see tonight's episode? Did that stick out to you all as well?
Thoroughly.
Okay.
Again, I'm sorry for being loquacious, but to answer that question, on the Blog Talks, you have a whole plethora of Freedomizer radios, Survival Network, which is, you know, literally was amplified after Obama. And keep in mind context. This is so insidious how the context of what was portrayed in tonight's episode. You had the Obama saying, everybody, listen to my voice, it's okay, but you had whites, you know, acting like it's Armageddon, which is basically paralleling what's happening today, where they were, you know, and it was the lack of our codification, which was amplified at the very end when he says, I'd like some, you know, can you make mine with extra fries? It was like, that's all we care about, you know, whereas others are caring about protection, and, you know, with the exception of Huey, which was, you know, he was showing codification.
That line is from Friday. I wanted to point that out as well, that all the fries you can give me, that is directly from Friday. John Witherspoon says that line in Friday. He's sleeping, and he mumbles that in his sleep. They tend to spoof a lot of lines from Friday because John Witherspoon was in Friday, Regina King was in Friday, and they both do voices on the Boondocks. But that was right. The extra significance for that line. Yeah, I thought that was a great point about President Obama, him being on television and telling everyone, you know, be calm, I'm cool, I'm tucked away in my little safe spot here, hope for the best for you all. Don't know how that's going to work out, but as long as you can hear my voice, everything should be okay. I thought that was a great, kind of great signifier on exactly what you said, what's happening right now. White people are out in the street with guns. You know, wow.
Exactly. Even the ruckus, you know, where you know, it was like this thing of again the Willie Lynch, you know, I mean, it's just real hidden, you know, the fact that, you know, of course, you know, they're letting all these folk in, And then here's Ruckus, who's been hiding in the attic, and it's like, no, you got to go. But then, and then all of a sudden, you see Ruckus dressed up in Mel Gibson gear, helping Mike. It's just a lot of insidious messages in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it took me a moment. Like, I only got to watch tonight's episode one time. I normally, if I'm gonna do a show on the Boondocks, I try to watch the episode at least twice. But it took me a moment of seeing the attire that Mrs. Van Housen and Ruckus and everybody had at the end for it to click in, like, oh, that's Mad Max. That's what that is. Like, and then, like, oh, and Mel Gibson was in that. Like, it took a moment. Anybody, if you didn't put all that together, watch the episode again and keep all that in mind. Like, that's from, and maybe watch Mad Max, because I know on a lot of explicitly racist websites, Mad Max is one of their favorite films, Racist White Supremacists, for many reasons. They have, they have counter-racist film reviews. They have racist film reviews for Mad Max. Watch that film and then double that up with Mel Gibson's tirades that he's been making about black people and niggers. Keep that in mind and then watch tonight's episode again. But, yeah, I felt that was quite significant.
Tina Turner was also in Mad Max, and she also is known to be in relationships with white men.
They did have Uncle Ruckus in the group. He was there. Yeah, I forgot a clip too. I had this was from last week's episode, Mr. Medicinal. Just again, just keep in mind how you feel about black people watching the Boondocks, and caller 6325, what he said about this is played around the world. This is how black people are being depicted worldwide, Samboification. But this is from last week, season 3, episode 12, Mr. Medicinal.
What is this really going to accomplish?
What happened to you, Huey? I thought you believed in the revolution. I thought you were a freedom fighter.
Granddad, you're not going to end prohibition by getting arrested.
Well, what if me and Rosa Parks had said that on that bus in Montgomery? What if me and Martin Luther King said that in Selma? What if me and Nelson Mandela said that during apartheid?
When were you arrested in South Africa?
Never mind that. Point is, you sold out.
I think we should just move to L.A. I'm going to be the first nigga to be a blood and a Crip.
Granddad, nobody solves problems by going to jail anymore.
Fine. What do you suggest?
Look, if it's really that important to you, maybe we should just move to California.
Then I'm going to start in my own movie about the first nigga to be both the blood and the Crip. I'm going to play me.
But I'm not leaving my home. I paid good money for this house, and now it ain't worth so we're staying put.
Then I'm going to run up on a Fresh Prince kid and show him who the real Karate Kid is. They ain't even paying a nigga.
So what's more important, weed or us?
Weed.
Man, he didn't even think about it.
Season 3, episode 12, Mr. Medicinal. I clipped it. It stood out. Number one, that episode aired the same day that Dorothy Roberts was here talking about foster care. And Riley, later on in that episode, he has a line where they're in court, and Granddad has been brought up on charges of possession of marijuana. And he says, you better do something. I'm not going to foster care. That line that Granddad makes, so he just said, what's more important, us or weed? Weed. No thought. Bang. Walks out to go do his protest, where he gets arrested again, to do his protest for marijuana. Wow. And the other, Riley's commentary in there as well. Man, how do you feel about black people? How do you feel about black people?
Right. It's basically, this is 6325. It's basically a way of saying, well, if black folk don't feel about black folk, then the rest of the world, hey, do with them what you will.
We were talking the other day about that movie where the aliens come and they're willing to trade the black people for something else. Someone actually posted that on YouTube if you want to watch it. It's called, they titled it, What Would the White Supremacists Do? I think the user's name is AIYNAI, I believe, or either NAY or NAI. But just look up What Would the White Supremacists Do? You can find that on YouTube.
I don't know if the title I'm seeing is Vic Kiss. I don't know if you want to talk or just listen. If you want to talk, your line is open. I don't know if you're just hanging out to listen.
I'm just listening.
Oh, right. I'm mildly stunned. I thought there would be some people to defend and say that's not so, particularly about the black females. I thought, there would be some retaliation that ain't so, and they do not show black females as crazy, or you're missing it, or it's something else, or you're just picking out little spots here and there. No pushback. I'm stunned. How about that?
Yeah, it's possibly, it's kind of hard to deny what's in the mirror.
If there was someone who would view the Boondocks and think that, I don't think that's the kind of person that probably would tune into the Cow Show. I would think the person that thinks they aren't depicted as crazy might be a little more confused.
Some of them have left comments. I know on the last program that focused exclusively on the Boondocks, the one that talked about pause and Date with the Booty Warrior, there were people who wrote and said that they were defending the constant depiction of homosexual subject matter. They said that Aaron McGruder is trying to wake people up and let people know what's going on with this white sex, anti-sexual behavior. And someone else said that Aaron McGruder doesn't have a white parent, that people are just hating on him. There were folks who were rallying to his defense. And again, I'm not beating up on Aaron McGruder. I'm really just scrutinizing the content. As I said, I'm a fan. He's a victim. But there were people who listened to the program and they left their commentary. Do you all think that's valid? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the thing that's probably bothered me the most about the Boondocks right now is the fact that neither one of the two boys, Riley or Huey, there's just absolutely no nurturing from a black female. No female aunt, cousin, grandma. Just absolutely no female loves those two boys. And I am concerned about the message that is sending not only to black males, but to black females.
Well,
I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, I'm sorry.
I was going to say you couple that with the current propaganda that's being pushed about, black women get off the Titanic, abandon your community and your men. It's they go hand in hand and they're occurring at the same time. I definitely think there is a coordinated effort with these messages to put them out at the same time and target young people.
Mr. Nero, what message do you think that how do you think a black female would receive that, seeing these two black male children not receiving any nurturing, really any contact at all with a black female figure?
Basically that they're not worthy of being cared for or loved. You shouldn't have any concern for them. They're animals.
And you know what's sad, Mr. Nero? I saw almost verbatim everything you just said typed out on Essence's chat room, whatever, their comment board today. And that stuff really concerns me because, it's like, are we supposed to act like our family members that are males don't exist? It's almost like an inhumane viewpoint. And I think that is kind of dangerous for young boys to see, too. Because I think it'll make them resent black females as well.
Well, Gus, you might as well get ready to hit your double whammy sound clip, because I don't believe young black boys and young black girls are going to see a difference between Riley, Huey, and myself.
Double whammy.
You want to elaborate on that?
Well, there's been many occasions where I've had dialogue with, preteens, and there always seems to be an undercurrent of I'm not really going to respect you. I'm not really even going to listen to what you're saying. And, you kind of brush that off as well because they're a kid and I'm an adult. You know what I mean? It's just that whole I'm not going to listen to an adult thing. But I'm suspecting now that it's probably much deeper than that with our conditioning. With shows like this, combined with Tyler Perry's movies, combined with the buffoonery that you see with black comedians, the fact that you don't see positive images really of black men in media. I mean, just the other night I was watching caught maybe the middle of a flick on the Sci-Fi Channel, and it was probably considered what they call, I guess, a B movie, where these it was like doing a take on the Transformers type films, where these giant robots had come down and had taken over, and the white male got to play the hero, of course, where he ex-military and he swoops in and kind of saves the day, and they end up in this camp where the black male is running the camp, and he was actually the mayor, and somehow, some way, he didn't think of going to the L.A. aqueduct to try to save the water supply, but this white soldier who had just swooped in did, and so everybody rallied behind him, and pretty much at that point, the black male just kind of became almost like an extra in the movie at that point. And so I'm going, wow, with all these negative images, it's going to be pretty difficult for black males and black females to fight all of that conditioning and just treat you with just a basic, some kind of a basic level of respect that you would typically get from a small person. So I will definitely be gauging and closely monitoring my interaction with children to see if that's getting worse.
I know 6325, you talked about the global impact of these images going around the world. And again, I hope people... I hope you have another tab open, because if you're listening from the page for this specific program, the window will not allow you to see the full image. So I hope if you're listening to this program live or archived, that you can open up another tab so you can see this on the main show page, either just hitting August and looking at the August 2010 archives, so you can see all these images scrolling by. But these images going around the world, what impact do you all think kids, because I think we touched on this before, a lot of kids watch the Boondocks. I think some of the callers have said they know kids watch this. How do you think, I guess starting with black females, how do you think kids would respond to seeing these sort of depictions of black females?
it.
Good.
Definitely is angry. Angry and attitudinal, overweight, mammyish.
Hostile and combative.
Yeah.
Basically.
Crazy.
I mean, somehow that message always seems to get out. Hostile and combative.
And sexually loose.
I would also interject that it also shows unloved, selfish, and non-lovable. Whether it's the Kung Fu Wolf episode or the one where the lady says, R. Kelly, he good, or the episodes whereas it shows all non-black females as lovable, loved, nurturing.
Keep in mind, I mean, these children are a lot of these young black girls that are watching these programs. They're going to be mothers someday, and some of them are going to have boys.
The striking and very alarming thing was showing how black women are unwanted unless it's only one thing and one thing general, and that's the physical. It's basically the quote-unquote, for lack of a better term, the concubine mentality. The thing that's sad is the source that it's coming from or promoted to come from, i.e., those that should be loving them and wanting them the most, i.e., black men.
Yes, because just in saying that, a lot of people, I think, and I certainly could be incorrect about how they're going to perceive it, but I think more, when people start dissecting it, anything negative that comes out, ultimately they're going to just hold Aaron McGruder responsible for it. The average person that's just not informed about the system, I think they're just going to lay that square at his feet. So, then it just becomes another black male bashing black females.
And himself, without looking at the ramifications.
Correct.
Basically a self-propelled genocide. Another thing that got me was when you were talking about the children, okay? The fact that this is, the emphasis on the children, i.e. Riley and Huey, there's another segment of people that they now name sports teams and motors and missiles and jeeps after. And the way that they did that is they went after the children, okay? They might have not had a Boondocks back then, but they had things like Bury My Heart and Wounded Knee. They had certain schools. They had certain, and the same thing is mirrored. Turn the women against the men, turn the old against the young. A lot might attribute it to a quote unquote Willie Lynch, mentality, but yet the effect is still the same. And we see it manifest where we can't even talk to a certain extent. A lot of the older folk can't even talk to the youngsters because of this boondocksization of their mind.
Victus, could you turn your computer speakers down? Because we're echoing a little bit. We got you. Thank you, sir. Outstanding. Cutting the echo down. Okay. Oh, nope, didn't get it. We're still echoing a little bit.
There we go.
Let me see if we got it now. Yes, we have it. Okay. Vicus, if you want to share anything, feel free. We have one line open. Anybody listening, if you want to call in, feel free, 347-215-6071. Vicus, I think he also wanted to comment as well.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. I wanted to, I guess, comment upon what somebody said about, I guess, earlier with not having an older female loving for them or caring for them. I wonder if you would consider Aunt Cookie from the episode Wingman. If you remember, she was, I guess, Granddad's sister, told him that his friend Mo died, which was also another interesting episode because it had, I guess it showed two sides of counter-racism, you know, the Huey Freeman and the extra, you know, RBG, you know, really militant, really, Africanized counter-racist. But I was wondering, would you consider Aunt Cookie a positive female representation, somewhat, on the Boondocks?
I would have to go back and watch the show because I don't remember Aunt Cookie being actually nurturing with them. But, you know, I mean, I don't remember. I have to go back and watch it.
It's been a while since I've seen that episode, but I
don't remember
that. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I don't remember, like, them jumping in her lap, you know what I mean, and she holding them, and you know what I mean, and giving them, like, a big squeeze and saying, you know, hey, I'm just so happy to see y'all again, and I missed you, and you mean so much to me, which, I mean, I don't remember that scene, if that occurred.
I don't know who that was. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, basically, and I might be wrong, but anything that has that was in there is basically eclipsed by the you know, by basically, remember what the you know, remember the two, you know, Granddad and the other guy had fallen apart, and a lot of it was eclipsed by showing an older woman who is like, you know, who turns out to be, you know, nothing, basically, an older sister that turns out to be nothing toward the end, you know, someone that I believe the Granddad was after at one time. So a lot of anything that they tried, and again, it might be his confusion, riding that fence again, of trying to say, okay, let me see if I can promote this, but, you know, but I have to show you. So it's always the motive. But I remember, not as vividly as I'd like, about the fact that the woman that, you know, Granddad was after a while was like, you mean that? You know, it was like, you know, the way she was portrayed was like, oh man, you know, you know, I fell for that kind of thing, you know, and it was, you know, that kind of took the emphasis off of anything that was positive for, you know, that showed any kind of role model for black women.
I think if I remember correctly, she did kind of sound like she had an familiar, affectionate tone towards Huey and Riley, you know, for the few lines that they did share.
It's been a while since I saw that episode, but that's from season 1. It's season 1, I believe, season 1, episode 13. The cookie character, I would say she is affectionate towards them, but I mean, man, she doesn't come back. I haven't seen her again. She doesn't have a recurring role on the program, and it really wasn't centered around them having interaction with her. It was really centered around kind of Granddad's conflict about his, I can't even say friend, this guy that he knew that died, that he had conflict with, that he doesn't really want to go to the funeral, who ends up playing a joke on him. And if I had watched that episode, I'm sure I could have had another picture added to my montage of photographs because they have a picture of a black female who is portrayed as being sexually loose, and by the end of the program, she's also being depicted in a disparaging manner. So I would agree with the commentary that's already been shared that kind of gets eclipsed. Not only eclipsed in the series because she doesn't have a reoccurring role, but that's not really the gist of the episode. I think she's trying to console Huey around. He doesn't. His friend is upset. Huey's childhood friend is upset because he moved away and he doesn't understand and all that. And she's trying to comfort him around that, but it's not. That's not really the center of the episode. I don't think. I don't know. What's your thought on that, Vickers?
I kind of think that she was there, but at the same time, that thing still happened to all the non-white males in that episode. People dying, people getting their nose broken and called out, and riots at someone's funeral, which is ridiculous. And the depicting of this black female that was chasing Robert, and had her. If there was anything positive to glean from the Aunt Cookie's presence, it was definitely, like you said, eclipsed by negative portrayals of other non-white females. So therefore, I think you're correct.
Can I add one more thing on that particular episode? Remember at the very end, and this again portrays that sexuality, that conflicting sexual mentality of Aaron McGruder's or whoever's in charge. Remember he said, "Hold these nuts," and he had a can of peanuts?
Yep. Yep, I remember that. Yeah.
And that eclipsed it as well.
Hello?
Yes.
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 Oh yes, Gus. I also wanted to ask you about the Boondocks. I mean, it's I've heard from some people that they think that maybe Aaron McGruder himself is beating up on victims, or at least the show portrays non-flattering images of non-white people and really airs out our laundry. But I'm just thinking, I wanted to ask you, if say Neely Fuller was in Aaron McGruder's place and had control of making a cartoon because it so has to be entertaining and comical. I've heard many stories and little anecdotes about, from Neely Fuller depicting black people honestly and brutally honest to some degree, and a lot of times. Like I don't know how different that would be if someone like that would had, if I had the same power or power to create a cartoon about black people, just to call us out and just to be like, what are we doing right now? Like that's what I view when I see the Boondocks. I don't see it as something that's disparaging against black people, even though non-black people who do watch it, I'm sure don't get it. But people that are black specifically, I think get it, and it's very sobering.
I reckon I would say number one. The crazy thing, if you go back, I don't remember which time it was. I think it was either the 5th time or the 6th time that Mr. Fuller was on the program, but he said he wanted to be a cartoonist, which I thought was crazy. He said that. I mean, I go back to January. I wrote it in the description, so you won't have to even dig that hard. It was either the 5th time he was here or the 6th time, but it's written in the description that he talked about he wanted to be a cartoonist. So, I guess I would say second that when I first started watching the Boondocks, season 1, I didn't view it as, he's beating up on black people. I viewed it as this is, just as you said, this is brutally honest about our conduct in the system of white supremacy, and I felt that I felt that the program attributed the deplorable conduct of black people to white supremacy, directly and or indirectly. I felt like that was happening consistently. What I have been seeing of late, I don't see that as much our conduct being attributed to white people, it seems more like just laughing at the conduct of black people, number one. And I think the big difference is that this is humor. This is entertainment. Mr. Fuller is not a comedian. He's not an entertainer. He's attempting to counter racism. I think it's very different. I think I've said this repeatedly on the program. I think it is problematic if you are attempting to counter racism, but it's happening from an entertainment standpoint, because it's hard. Sometimes it can be very difficult to judge whether what you're doing is being said for the purposes of being funny and entertaining, or if it's being said for the purpose of working against racism, white supremacy. And just looking at those images of black females and the homosexual content, it's hard for me to pick out sometimes whether there's a commentary about this that's leading to this is the problem caused by white people, or if this is just being presented as, ha, 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 isn't this funny? And it's hard for me to tie the way black females are depicted. It's hard for me to tie that to white people. I don't really see how, just showing a lot of fat black females eating fried chicken and complaining, I don't really see that connected to white people. The homosexual content, it's quite a few things. It's a growing list of things that I don't see connected to the problem is white people. But I think that's a valid point. I think, and Mr. Fuller did say that. I don't know, what do the other people think that are on the line? And the person that called in last four digits, 8728, are you there, 8728?
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm just listening. I just called in to catch the rest of the show live.
All right. I think I know. How you doing, sir?
Everything is good. Everything is good. You got my email, I suppose.
I did. I haven't read it because we're on the show, but I did get it. Thank you. I'll respond as soon as the show ends.
Okay. All right. It's all good, man. Like I said, I was just listening. I never catch the show live, so I went to the website and I said, hey, what's going on? Call in and get some. So I don't even really know what y'all. I mean, I'm listening, but I'm doing some taxes at the same time, so I'm half listening.
Okay. No, serious.
If y'all say something I can chime in on, I'll be back. I got you on mute.
Okay. The other folks on the line, I'm just curious to hear your thoughts in comparing Mr. Fuller and the way he talks about black people to the way. Matter of fact, I'm gonna prejudice your question. I'm gonna play a sound clip over so you can think about it, contrasting the Boondocks representation of black people's poor conduct to Mr. Fuller talking about black people's poor conduct. Just sound clip before I get other folks' responses.
Soldier to the war is won.
Man, this weekly jog was a great idea, wasn't it? Look at us. We're workout buddies. Hey, speaking of buddies, I read your Facebook suicide note, man. Oh, I'm really sorry.
I'm not just giving up on Facebook. I'm giving up on women. It's pointless. These women out here are insane.
Robert, the key to happiness is to eliminate all black women from your life. I mean, look at me. No black women in my life. Look how happy I am. I'm happy as a nigga with a new gun.
Now, Ruckus, that is preposterous.
Oh, preposterous. Preposterous, really. Really. Answer me a question. Is you happy?
Sure am.
Uh-huh. See? No black women in his life neither. Nigger free, and that's how he need to be.
Just because I'm married to a white woman doesn't mean there's a single thing wrong with black women.
True, but you did marry a white woman.
You have to find the woman who makes you happy, Robert.
Well, black women don't want to be happy. They squeeze out about 7 or 8 of them little nappy-headed chillin' by the time they 21. It's all downhill from there. Look, oh, that woman's body over there, that's a temple. A black woman's body is a temple of doom. When was the last time you saw a black woman jogging, Robert? Ask yourself that question. And I ain't talking about them super steroided she-males in the Olympics that tuck their testicles up either.
Well, come to think of it.
Uh-huh, that's what I thought. You ain't never seen it, because black women don't jog. That way they don't sweat out all them industrial strength toxic Avenger chemicals they use to say not they have.
Sarah loves to jog.
Well, of course you do. Sarah is a human being.
Okay, fellas, enough of the guy talk, jibber-jabber, talky talk. Can we just start running already? Come on!
You coming?
I ain't running with y'all two niggers in the park. Police might shoot me by mistake. See you on the other side, nigga!
There we go. I've never heard Mr. Fuller say anything like that, but, you know. Folks on the line, if you want to comment, contrasting.
I think it's actually, I mean, I would say I know there's something to be said about looking at the extended that a person, I mean, you know, Fuller put out a code book that's, he says, for the purpose of getting rid of white supremacy, you know, explicit. You know, that's another factor too. So that's a key contrast, I would say.
I don't know, Gus. I mean, Mr. Fuller has a way of making you laugh at things you typically wouldn't laugh at, probably. But, I mean, just in some of the conversations I've had with him, and he'll have me in stitches. So I don't know. It would be interesting, though.
Hey, well, I know Fuller told a story about the guys at the house, and one guy had a gun, and the police came, and he was talking about, I don't know, I usually have a gun, but I didn't bring one with me, and I don't know Leroy, and I mean, I think he was talking about no contact, no conflict at that point, or don't go over people's houses to hang out and watch TV. I don't know if that's relevant to this conversation.
No, I mean, I mean, that's what I'm saying. He does tell some stories. I mean, just when he tells the story of the time he was robbed, even though that's not a funny situation. But when he compares it while saying something like, you know, I was more frightened that time than the whole time I was in Korea, you know. I mean, that really got a chuckle out of me in listening to that lecture.
Yeah, I would even wager that it's way funnier than the Boondocks. I mean, way funnier. It was it wasn't Gehring. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. The Nazi cartoonist in World War II. Okay, and keep that in mind. The Nazi cartoonist in World War II. Now, let's talk about Boondocks and to say it short, when you're airing one's dirty laundry, especially those who want to see it dirty, and you portray yourself as buffoons and whatnot, there's a whole different mindset between that and being critical of ourselves or using humor or whatnot. Now, when I said Nazi cartoonist, in order for them to cook, apparently cook a bunch of Jews, they needed to portray certain things. They needed to dehumanize. In order to, treat someone inhuman, you dehumanize them. And it especially works well when you do it to yourself, okay? That is not Neely Fuller, okay? That is Aaron McGruder. That is Boondocks. That is Tyler Perry. That is, and you'll see the evidence of it, no doubt about it, in the coming years. But you'll see it in subsidies. You'll start seeing it in government programs. You're going to see it in incarceration and joblessness and food purchasers not going in, as well as city services not going into black neighborhoods. That is pretty much a high probability guarantee.
Yeah, and I would also say that whenever Neely Fuller is talking about something, and he'll make you laugh, but he will place the responsibility back on the racist white supremacists. He said this action is a result of racism, white supremacy. Aaron McGruder is just like the black people's fault, their fault, they did it. Let's laugh at the black people.
Somebody else just joined the line as well. Prophecy of Bowstring. If you want to comment or what have you, your line is open. And I was just going to say, I would also look at the results. I think non-white people who come in contact with Mr. Fuller, I think often the result is they change their thought, speech, and action to be more in line with replacing white supremacy with justice. I don't know how non-white people respond to seeing the Boondocks. It's been my experience people don't see the Boondocks and decide they want to change their conduct with regards to how they function in a system dominated by white supremacy, but I could be wrong. Prophecy of Bowstring, if you want to talk, your line is open. If you're just listening, that's fine too.
Well, I'm just listening because the show got cut off on the website. However, I do agree that like watching the Boondocks didn't really change the thoughts, speech, and action of myself or people around me nearly as much as the people that I know, myself included, who have heard Mr. Fuller talk about racism and white supremacy. I've only seen season 1. I started to see or began to watch season 2, and it seemed like it just changed a bit, where to the point where I just wasn't interested in watching it anymore. But yeah, I'm just listening. I'm not really familiar with season 2 or 3.
Wow. I didn't recognize the name of the person who's on the line right now, but I caught it now. I know this person. If I can ask one question, because we have a non-black, non-white person who has seen the Boondocks, what exactly did you feel, what did you observe that made you lose interest in watching the Boondocks during season 2?
I don't know. Maybe you can give me a recap on the first couple episodes. I do remember there was like some like an increase of homosexuality being practiced by non-white people. I think there was a specific episode with regards to Hurricane Katrina. I'm not sure, but it's been so long since I've seen it that I don't quite recall what it was about it. But yeah, I saw like the first 3 episodes of season 2 like as soon as they came out, and I just got the feeling that the show just had a different like direction. Maybe somebody else was like calling shots in the show. I have no idea, but it just seemed like a different show from season 1. I'll have to review it and share my thoughts at a future time, possibly.
Okay. So you have not seen any of season 3 episodes? Is that
not at all?
Oh wow, wow! Yeah. I would love to get a non-black, non-white person's perspective on Boondocks season 3, who's informed about white supremacy. Because this is Moving Ninja. Can I just say, is that all right? I've already said.
That's fine.
He was, if you go way back in the archives, he was on the program we did with C.O.W.S, Coalition of Anti-Racist Whites in Seattle, Washington. He's shared some photo images. He's been doing some traveling as well. I would be real interested to hear a non-black, non-white person who is informed about white supremacy share their thoughts on the Boondocks, just what it makes them feel about black people. Well, I'll get you some links so you can see some of season 3, and then maybe you can come back and, share a thought or two. Wouldn't you all be interested in hearing that?
Yes.
This sounds like a show to me.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yep. Got an audience waiting, man. Audience waiting. And all you got to do is watch TV. That's real easy. Right on. Right on.
Well, I have a question. Do you guys, people on the phone, do you think non-white, non-black people look at the Boondocks and think, well, yeah, that's how black people act in real life, kind of like the way people responded to Precious. Yeah, that's real. Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Moving Ninja?
Wait a minute, because we got a non-black, non-white person here. Moving Ninja, what do you think?
Are you talking about? So the question was: do non-black, non-white people watch shows like the Boondocks, or specifically the Boondocks, and assume that this is normal behavior of so-called black people?
Correct.
I think for the people that's around me, I have like different networks of people, and there are people who never interact with black people, and there are also people who do interact with black people. But many of the non-black, non-white people actually attempt to emulate and imitate and actually, I think, function nearly the same as black people, particularly the darkest skinned of the non-black, non-white people. For example, so-called Cambodians. As far as the non-black, non-white people who do not interact with black people, yeah, I don't know if they would just see that as a reality, but they do like to be amused. I think they're entertained by the show and those kinds of depictions, but it's not really discussed. It may just be assumed that black people can't act this way.
Let me ask a even kind of a deeper question, because do you think, or the non-white, non-black people, when you see a non-white, non-black person emulating the Boondocks, do you think that they're emulating a real black person? Because I'll say this, because one day I was in a store and I saw this Mexican guy. Oh, I assume he was Mexican. His pants were sagging so low that in order to get his money out of his pocket, he really had to touch his ankle. And I thought, his pants look like Riley from the Boondocks. And I'm thinking, is he emulating what he think is black, or is he emulating something that he saw that was created by someone's idea of what black is? Am I making sense?
No, I'm not quite sure what you mean.
I mean, for example, if you see somebody who is not black, but they have a quote-unquote hip-hop behavior, do you think they're emulating a black person, or is it possible that they're emulating, say, the Boondocks?
I might have used the incorrect terminology. They might not be emulating anything else. That may be just the way they identify themselves. I have observed like many non-black, non-white people speak very similar to the way I've heard black people speak when they speak to other black people. They call each other like nigger, but not like that. They call each other nigga, and nobody really flinches an eye when they do it. But this is particularly with like the darker of the non-black, non-white people. And I'm not sure if they're emulating anything. I think they just might be really identifying with like being really far away from white.
I wanted to thank the gentleman that's non-black, non-white, this is 6325, for making my point. As a world traveler, you just basically took the words right out of my mouth. Can I ask, if you don't mind, are you of Asian or Hispanic descent?
Yeah, I think white people would say I'm Asian. Like, I look very Asian, actually.
Okay, you mentioned the word Cambodia, and I do extensive work with Japanese, Cambodian, Thai, Laotian, and when you said that it's, because I've actually seen the evidence of it, when you said that the darker those that are darker are the ones more likely to emulate, the what they hear. If I'm not mistaken, black folks do. What are those that are not of dark, of the darker of Asians? What do they think of the people that are? Do they think that they are, what do they feel, or what are their thoughts of those people? Are they just, is it something just funny, or do they think they're making themselves look kind of disgracing themselves?
Yeah, I guess I would lean more towards the latter, like the non-black, non-white people who are lighter skinned, and not just lighter skinned, but maybe have like relatively greater access to resources. Maybe they have jobs and like families that aren't broken up, living in possibly neighborhoods where there's a lot of white people around, like north end of Seattle. Yeah, I can see a lot of them looking at those other non-white people as very different from themselves, while the non-white people who do, I don't even want to say like act black, because some people I really don't think they're really acting black, they're just being them, or what they think is them. But yeah, they do get looked upon like with like a negative connotation. They're not really looked up to at all. I mean, a class apart. Yeah, I don't even like that word class really, but yeah, just very different from them. But it varies because there are also people who interact with these people who don't, and identify them as Asian, which is to them different from black. I don't know if that was clear.
I just wanted to hop in really quick. It's sounding like you're making a distinction between two groups of non-black, non-white people, so-called Asians, and the distinction sounds like the darker Asian people. Would it be accurate to say that the darker Asian people, this group is the more victimized group, and they tend to behave in a manner that reflects conduct that's typically associated with darker, more victimized non-white people?
Yeah, like white people?
Okay. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I would say like overall that's like a trend that I see.
Okay.
But there's definitely like light-skinned non-white people, non-black people who act and interact with other black people and other darker non-black, non-white people in like the most victimized, how would you say? I don't like saying like black people, but I don't know how else to describe like the vernacular and I guess behavior, like how they their actions, like how they conduct themselves in public, how they interact with other non-white people, like quick on the trigger, ready to have conflict at the drop of a dime, like yeah, very very trigger happy.
So you say the darker non-white, non-black people, they like to show off and make a lot of noise, and they dare you to say something.
Yeah, but there's also like the lighter non-black, non-white people, so-called Asians, who act nearly identical. I would say identical to the like darker so-called Cambodians, Laos. People from the area known as Laos and Cambodia. It depends, I think, largely on who your social network was when you grew up, and like if you interacted with a lot of people who identified themselves as gangsters. Yeah, and I don't really know if they're emulating something else. I think that's just like how they exist in under the system of white supremacy. it's very similar to like black people, but usually their conflicts are confined to each other. Like Asian gangs have conflict with other Asian gangs more than having conflict with like black gangs. While I have observed that black gangs have more conflict with other black gangs than with Asian gangs.
And what do the very young of the Asian, or what do the very young think of these people that are trying to emulate black culture, black people, and what do the very old think about them?
Well, you know, keep in mind, I try to like minimize contact with people, so I don't have too many young people or old people that I talk to, especially about white supremacy, because yeah, people are just not receptive to hearing about it. Like I'm pretty isolated within the so-called Asian community. Largely post speaking, thinking, and acting in what like I consider to be like a counter racism, white supremacy.
Sir, if I may ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
This group of people that you're speaking of, would you consider them to be educated?
I don't know which group of people you're talking about. They're talking about the
so-called Cambodians.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's just Cambodians. There's basically there's a demographic of non-white, non-black people who are, for like a large percentage, would be the darker of the non-black, non-white people, but it also includes very light-skinned non-white, non-black people as well. They tend to come from like specific neighborhoods and growing up under similar like circumstances with on welfare. Like I grew up in government housing as well, and for the most part, those non-black, non-white people who do grow up in government housing, like mostly refugees from so-called Southeast Asia, have like a high, they are much more likely to act, think, and speak more like similarly to black people, I guess. But I think I retract my previous statement when I said they emulated. I'm not sure if it's emulation. I think that's just the way they exist.
Well, I kind of... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in my experiences growing up with Asians in my school and community and different people from the Pacific Islands, those who I would say were similar to a lot of the young black kids and what they identified with culturally, the way they dressed, the music they listened to, I didn't feel like they were emulating black people. It kind of was a shared influence because we lived in the same communities and were around each other, going to the same schools, listening to the same music, especially like the Samoan kids. And like a lot of them that were gangbangers dressed just like the rest of them, talked just like the black gangbangers, hung out with them. And then there were people from like Tonga, places close, but it wasn't like it was a monolithic group where every Filipino or every Samoan behaved in the same way or had the same taste, the same way not all the black kids did. But throughout all of us, I would say there, because we're all going to school together, growing up at the same time, there were a lot of similar popular cultural references and things like that.
Yeah, I agree. They, myself included, like we know we're not white, and I think sometimes especially if the people you're most comfortable with are other non-white people, and you reject having to be accepted by white people because there's enough of you to just kind of stick to yourselves and get along and identify with each other's existence. Yeah, it's definitely not white, depending on the neighborhood you grew up in and the school you went to. Even if there's not very many black people around, I think people that are non-white, and particularly if you don't live in like a secure home environment, then you are much more likely to identify with what we could say is the way black people live. And there are many similar vectors of influence that affect those non-white people in a very similar fashion to black people. Like you said, music, hip hop. Yeah, we don't like rock and metal. That's white music. We'd much rather listen to hip hop and R&B and whatever, Shy, Boyz II Men, non-white music.
That's interesting. I've always wondered how does that happen? How do you, if you come from another country and you land in a black ghetto area, or you come from somewhere else to here, how do you decide to call yourself a nigger? That's crazy to me. Black people can't give the word away, and then, you got some other people that come and just, I'll take it. That's always been really interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of, well, I don't know, I can't really speak for other people, but it's normalized after the first, if you just hear it a lot and you hear it often enough, it becomes very normal and you don't really think anything of it. I do think if you are part of a social network that does not interact with any black people, when black people enter that, space, maybe I have noticed that certain non-white, non-black people who do use the word nigga discontinue the use of the word nigga when black people are around. But if they do interact with black people and do use the word nigga, then they'll use the word nigga just like the way they always use it.
Can I ask you something? What is the employment status, or are these people that that are acting or whatnot black? Do they have their own businesses, or are most of them employed by white businesses or non-Asian business?
I don't know. I think many of them are unemployed. Many of them are surviving by selling drugs and other criminal activities. I think also a good percentage. I don't, like I said, I minimize contact with non-white people and all people in general, really. So I'm not really sure exactly. I can't give out any percentages. I can't give out any statistics or data on that. But I do know the people I do interact with. Many of them just don't have jobs, and when they do, they can't hold on to a job for more than, let's say a few weeks or a couple months.
Okay. And are the ones that you do know of, are they single? Are they married? Are they girlfriends? Majority, or are they?
A majority, I would say, are actually single. Of the people I know, yeah. They may have had girlfriends, but almost in every single case, those non-white people that I know that are, I guess, highly victimized, again, cannot hold on to a girlfriend, and if they do, actually they just don't. When they get new girlfriends, those girlfriends are often of very low, I don't know, would quality be the right word? Yeah, I'd say low quality. Like also highly victimized females, like who cannot support themselves or speak, think, and act in a manner that's, you know, constructive.
Sir. Hold on, sorry.
I also know non-white people who are very constructive and who are living, I wouldn't say great lives, but, you know, they're not living in nearly the same conditions as these other non-white people. There's like a wide range of non-white existence in the so-called group that people lump as Asians. I don't know if that made any sense. Like, I'm not an expert. I'm pretty slow in the uptake.
Sir, have you seen the movie Gran Torino?
I have not, sir. I've read a synopsis of the movie where Clint Eastwood saves these non-white Mien or Hmong people from somewhere in the Midwest. Not exactly familiar with any details.
Do you or any of these people speak their native tongue or any, you know, like, do they speak it regularly or when you're around, or if you communicate through the web or whatnot?
Most of these people don't use the internet or have internet access.
Okay. Do they speak the native languages?
For the most part, no, because even if they do speak a little bit, they do not speak fluently. They're not able to communicate anything but the most, I guess, basic communications required to just exist. Like, what time is it? Or where do you want to go? Like, what are we eating? Where are you going? This is just what I've observed. I've observed that the parents cannot speak to their children because the parents do not speak English and the children do not speak their language. And they don't even speak English correctly either, so yeah. I'm actually one of those. I can't speak English. I can't speak my native language. I can't communicate with my grandmother or mother or my parents or anybody who does not speak English.
Wow.
Yes. It's
You are unable to communicate with your parents?
I mean, I can communicate basic things, but I can't talk to them about racism and white supremacy, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Is it because of a barrier in words or your ability to speak their language, or them not being receptive to it?
I'd say more of the language barrier. I just can't communicate these ideas in a way that they would be receptive. I mean, basic communication is not a problem, but with basic communication, you I know you just don't have experience with your parents. You just don't have experience of talking or having conversations regarding any matters but the most basic ones. So it's a very foreign experience to try to talk about something serious.
Right.
Like racism and white supremacy.
Okay.
So let me
people
say this.
People just aren't used to talking to their parents. Like, excuse me?
Well, I don't know who was going to speak, but I'm thinking if you cannot speak with your parents, not you in general, but and as a whole, just thinking about all of these people, if you have a language barrier with your parents, you could possibly have a complete diet of television. I mean, because your parents can't say, hey, don't watch that BET, or don't watch that Boondocks, or don't do this or don't do that. It's like you could possibly grow up thinking that everything on TV is real.
Yeah, I'd say that's possible, but I'd also say that most people don't think that everything on TV is real, but they are heavily influenced by what comes out of TV. I'm not really exactly sure as to like how that whole mechanism works, because I don't watch TV myself. But when I see people thinking in what I observe to be like a similar manner, and they share like a common tradition of like watching TV and movies, I would definitely say that it has a tremendous influence on the thought, speech, and action of those people who do regularly are entertained by, who are regularly entertained by the media.
Oh, yeah. And I say that because not that I have a lot of experience with other, races of people or Asians or so, but I had a conversation with this was a black guy the other day, and we were going back and forth about racism, white supremacy, and what it is and how it works, and he kept telling me, well, all black people does this, all black people do this, and all black people do that. And I'm telling him, well, I've never been to jail, and I'm talking to you. I'm married to a black woman, and I'm talking to you. I have no kids out of wedlock. I'm talking to you, and I'll even give you a job if you want one. But he it's like he had a complete disconnect. Like, well, I'm not that. And I know 3 people who you know that I know who's not like that. So, just going back to the Boondocks, I'll just say, do people really think that's real? Even if they got a full diet of television, and you watch BET all day, then you watch some Boondocks, and then you watch some Jerry Springer and some Judge Judy or whatever, then you walk outside and you see people who are not that, but you still walk around with pants sagging, calling each other nigga, trying to get a 76 Caprice Classic with 22-inch rims on it. And I'm like, you see that that's not every black person, so why would you want to be that? That's maybe I need to go back through the code book because I'm trying to figure out why would you want to do that, especially if...
I think part of it has to do with them not wanting to be themselves. I observe a lot of self-hatred in people, so-called Asians. They don't want to be themselves, and they know they're not white.
Okay, so that's what I mean. It seems like when you come here, you have an option. Well, I can be this vision of what I see on television, or I can try to be white, or I can try to be so-called Asian and fit in somewhere in the middle, if that makes sense. I'm kind of going back to the Neely Fuller slave ship.
Well, I don't really know. I don't really think there's a middle. Maybe there might be like the appearance of a middle, but a lot of people that's in this so-called middle really do not like to be in that so-called middle and want to identify with something. And when they do, I don't think it's emulation at that point. I think, yeah, they really are just niggas. Even though they might get treated differently because they're non-black, but the way they relate to each other, and to the enforcement officials, I believe, particularly the dark ones. I mean, you're asking if, I don't know if I answered your question. You're asking if non-black, non-white people just believe that all black people, or believe the depictions of black people in the media. I would say that I have met many non-black, non-white people who have said things that leads me to believe that they do believe that. But I've also met many non-black, non-white people who do not.
Because here in the Bay Area where we are, I see a lot of Asians, and like I say, Asians or Mexicans or even so-called, I call them South Asian people, where they dress and they look the part, but they don't hang around any black people who dress like they dress, you know. And then you kind of get closer to them, and you hear them talking, and you say, "This is not real." You know, why would you? You know, I'm trying to talk to the people in my hood and say, "Listen, this is incorrect." And then I go to the mall and I see Muhammad's son, and he's there, you know, with his Coogee sweater on, and he calling people, "What's up, homie?" And I'm like, this is just ridiculous, you know.
Yeah. Popular culture, though. I hear white kids talking like that too.
Yeah, me too.
I see white boys that work at Starbucks walking out, and I can see their boxers showing, and they're currently in their work uniform. But skinny jeans, you know, sometimes it'll be skinny jeans instead of baggy ones, but, you know, same look. And I see black boys wearing skinny jeans doing the same thing too.
Yeah, so would that be related? You know, you got the white boy at Starbucks, and then you got the immigrant Cambodian kid. Is it the same thing, or is the white boy at Starbucks just, you know, trying to be cool while, you know, based on the conversation what we're having here, the immigrant kid, he's like, I really identify with this. This is who I am.
No,
you know?
I think they're all relating to current popular culture and incorporating that into who they are. Because, like I said, like in my school, it was actually more Filipino kids in my school than there were black. We were the second largest population, but, you know, when we had, like, air band, it was the Filipino boys dressed like Boys to Men with jeans and shirts and ties, you know, doing air band to Boys to Men songs. And we didn't see that as, oh, they're trying to be us. That was just popular teen culture at the time that we all liked. You know, I would hear them speak in English and Tagalog. We shared a lot of similar vernacular, you know, but I never saw them as trying to be black or act black. It was just our current shared pop culture at the time, you know, what young people in our area were listening to. Now, out in somewhere like La Jolla or further up north in the county, you know, I'm sure some of the kids did listen to the same stuff, but you probably would hear kids that were more into alternative rock, you know, punk, stuff like that.
Okay.
Because that was a more white area.
Okay. Well, let me put this on, because it's all in the same vein, right? It seems like if you're not black, it's almost like you can just say, okay, it's popular culture. But a lot of the black kids are doing it too because it's popular culture. But somehow when the black kids do it, it's like, you know, that's you guys. That's acting black. But it's all coming from, you know, television, popular culture, and most of this is designed and orchestrated by racism, white supremacy, and the people who control it and operate it. But somehow when black kids get in a car with big rims and it's like, okay, that's your culture, that's what you do, that's what you guys are, and then everybody else is kind of like acting black.
Well, because
am I making sense?
Doing it the most. It's branded as being black.
Right.
Those are you see the black faces bringing it to you all the time, even though the white people own the distribution.
Right. So it's like you're not acting. Even the black kids are not acting black. The Cambodian kids are not acting black. The Mexican kids are not acting black. They're acting like the images that they see on TV. How is it that when you throw a 70s party, everybody wants to be a pimp and a hoe? You know what I mean? And somehow that's acting black. It's
right.
like popular.
Right. The images, unfortunately, have a tendency to shape reality because they're portrayed as being black. And that's where the Boondocks, it's portrayed to others as this is what these folks are. And if I'm not mistaken, the gentleman on the line that's non-white, non-black had mentioned that, this is emulating something that is, if I'm not mistaken, for lack of a better term, black.
Well, yeah, I've observed that as well. But I've also observed where, like, the people who were supposedly emulating black people really, it didn't seem like they were emulating anything. It just seemed like their natural way of existence. Not natural, but that's just the way they existed. While there were other people who I did observe where, I guess you could say, oh yeah, these people are acting black. Because when black people come around, then they change the way they talk. But there are also people who don't. The people who aren't acting. I think there's some people who do act and some people who don't act within this group called Asians.
Right, so how would these people act if they were back home in the native country?
Well, I haven't observed many non-black, non-white people who spent a lot of time here and then went back to their home countries because people just don't have the resources or the desire to go back to their countries. They usually see their countries as, undesirable places to live or visit. They'd rather go to Vegas.
Because I know that they push quote unquote acting black as being cool. And I heard a quote once that said, "Cool is the worst thing that ever happened to a black man."
Yeah. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with just showing off in general.
Right.
Just finding different ways to show off, and I think maybe acting black might be one of those ways to show off.
Well, like I said, I don't do that well.
Excuse me?
I said we do that well. $5,000 rims on a $2,000 car.
Whammy.
Yeah.
You're right. Diamond-studded cell phones or iPods. Yeah. I'm glad the question was asked about whether they act that way when they go home, and it reminds me of an incident in Japan during the 90s. I was there, and at the time it was a lot of the TLC and the New Jack Swing, and I noticed there were a lot of Japanese that were, basically emulating and trying to, because that was what was being portrayed, but down to the point where even the language as well as the disobedience started to, to their society. Then I went to Malaysia, and I saw the same thing kind of, the evidence of it in Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Cambodia. It was just kind of interesting that when you had asked that question, and it just gives the global nature of the Boondocks mentality or the buffoonery or Samboism. Whether I won't say that at that time it was Samboism, but then again, the portrayal or lack of a better term, the global nature of showing off.
Yeah.
Was that a question?
Off like no other. No, I'm just making a statement.
Okay.
Well, because I'm thinking like in terms of when you say it's a global situation, if you look at, all right, so say, go back to the Neely Fuller's example of a slave ship. Can you imagine somebody being higher up on the quote-unquote slave ship and looking down and saying, hey, that looks like the place to be? You know? I'm like, that's just crazy to me. Everybody at the bottom is trying to come up, and then you got this certain population of people who is like, yeah, that's where I want to be. I want to be right there. I just can't understand it, you know. But if you wanna go down, who wants to go down? I don't understand.
But I don't think they're trying to go down and be black. White people have been taking things that black people have come up with and invented, including fashion and style, for centuries. And they're not trying to be black people. You know, like they say, everybody wants to be black, but nobody wants to be black. I think it's just borrowing from, you know, things that black people come up with and they think are cool, but you probably couldn't pay them to be seen and treated as a black person.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. A lot of these things, it's to the point now where we're not coming up with it anymore. It's being manufactured for us.
Right, and by those who control these industries. And that, I think that's part of the reason why it's become so perverse and so destructive.
Yeah, so I see people trying to be black, and I'm like, that's not black that you're trying to be, you know. And I'll give you an example is I create designs and sell T-shirts to stores. And in this area, in the Bay Area, a lot of the stores are owned by, say, Egyptian people or Pakistani people. And as a black male, I will go to the store and attempt to place my items in the store. And I need them in the store because I can't sell enough of them at the barbershop. But when you take them to the barbershop, the guy in the store says to me, this is no lie, your people won't buy that. Your designs are too smart. When your people have to read, they don't buy as fast. Can you put a weed plant on that? And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? My people. You know, I am my people. I'm selling it to my people. My people are buying it. They want a place that they can go to buy it without finding me. But when I go to the store, the guy would tell me, that's not hot. Do this. You know, and if I do that, then he'll pay me and my people will buy that. But that wasn't created by me.
Yeah, because his perception of black people is intellectually they're not there to focus on something that requires thought or time, and so he's not going to buy anything to sell or market to them that places any value on their ability to appreciate something better. Right,
but his store is a quote-unquote black urban store, so he's dictating what the black people wear. So if you are a Cambodian and you're looking at the black guys who's wearing these weed plants, they're not wearing the weed plants because black people created the clothing. They're wearing the weed plants because that's the only option that they have when they go to this particular store, but it was actually the idea of the Egyptian guy. The black guy came in with an encyclopedia on the T-shirt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Now, yeah. Could this be any different than black-faced, minstrel, hip-hop, or Aaron McGruder starting from season 1 to subtly addressing racism, white supremacy to buffoonery season 3?
I don't think it is, and I think had the Chappelle Show continued, we probably would have seen it more with that as well, which is why I think he walked away.
In other words, other folks dictating, you know, saying they won't digest this. They only digest it if it's, for lack of a better term, dumbed down or weed on the cover.
minstrelsy.
Correct.
That's why we don't see a lot of quality black movies and films. There's plenty of black writers and people, with great ideas that have good stuff written, but distribution and marketing and the ability to put it out and present it to the world is not in the hands of black people. It's in the hands of white people who call themselves Jews. Therefore, when you get a bunch of Wayans Brothers stuff, it's because they think that's funny. They think that's all black people will buy. And because we don't en masse demand better and we will spend our money to support it, then that supports their belief that that's what we want and that's all we'll go see.
I'm glad
but we learn to accept that that's what's available because we think that's what black people are giving us because we see the black face, but we don't see the non-black hand behind it with the dollars and who can say, yes, no, put that in the trash. No, black people don't want to see that. They don't like thinking. They don't like intellectual stuff. We need slapstick.
Okay, now let me throw.
I think white people call that the niggering process.
Okay, let me throw one more curve in there. All right, so you say you got the Jewish entertainment. They control the entertainment, and then just in my particular scenario, you got the Egyptian or the Pakistani guy that controls the store. I've gone so far as to believe they don't even want the black dollar anymore. They just want the Cambodian kid to believe that this is a black or ghetto thing. So then, if the Cambodian kid or the Laotian kid or the Mexican kid believes that the black people are endorsing this, they can get that dollar. They don't even want the black kids to come into the store.
Refined white supremacy. Yes, I see it. Exactly. It's refined.
Yeah.
That's exact classic example of refined white supremacy.
And all right, and one more thing. As a result of listening to the cows, I realized that I was getting mad at the wrong person. I was mad at the store owner, but the store owner was just playing his position, like you said. It's a refined. It's like they're like a buffer person. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
you brought up.
So then. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Basically, actually, all of you brought up an extremely, and I can ask this as a question: is that reflective of our consumption patterns, of what we want to consume and what we choose to consume? And what do you think that's going to do to us and the global impact, say, 2, 3, 4 years from now?
We have like 2 minutes left in the broadcast, so I suspect we won't have enough time to get that question answered fully, which is great. People can tune in next program, and we can pick up from right there. My quick toss-out thought was it probably reflects our Samboification with regards to what we consume, what we like, while we will go out and get the shirt with the weed symbol on it, or even the Boondocks. It, more than anything else, reflects our victimization in the system of white supremacy. But we will be back on Thursday, August 4th, part 2, with one of the contributing authors of Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation, black female. Pam, she was here just a couple weeks ago. She'll be back. Might be addressing some of these same themes. Hopefully, this will be the last. Well, actually, we'll probably bring up the Boondocks again if Moving Ninja, non-white, non-black male on the phone line. Glad he could chime in. If he can watch a few episodes of Season 3, maybe we can have him back as a guest, and that can be one of the things that we discuss if he's down to come back and chat, maybe. What do you think? Yes, no, maybe? You'll think about it?
I definitely noticed a significant difference between Season 1 and Season 2. And, yeah, I'd like to revisit my thoughts because I'm a bit retired and I forget things. And, yeah, maybe I need to think about them again.
Okay. Me too. Double whammy for me, too. But if you all have anything you want to share, we got like 60 seconds left. Feel free. We'll be back Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific.
I just want to real quickly piggyback with the Boondocks comment in regards to the unnurturing. Grandpa's attitude